Hello and welcome to the Sound Summit 2020. I'm John Tatulis from Sound Devices, and we've been joined with numerous of our friends in the sound community here, and we're putting on this live event so that we can talk about new products. What better thing to do when we're stuck at home than to talk about gear and to talk with folks that we like to talk about gear with. So we welcome you here, and we've got numerous presentations from various manufacturers. We're going to be playing out some pre-recorded videos, and then we also have a behind-the-scenes Zoom conference that you can see where we have numerous participants behind us that are available to take questions that you can come in over the YouTube live chat. So let's begin the schedule. We've got our first presentation from Ambient.
Hello, I'm Klaus with Ambient. Welcome to the Sound Summit 2020, and today I'm giving you an exclusive preview of a very brand new boom series that we will introduce soon. So what you see here is our Quick Pole Series 5. 5 because it has 5 segments, but it's also the 5th generation of our tubes. So you're certainly keen to learn what's new about it. First and utmost, I told you it's a new generation of tube technology, and what we have been cooking up in our labs is a special brand new carbon fiber compound. We added an additional fiber sort to the layers of the tubes, making them not only stronger than our classic QP series, but also lighter than the QXS series. So effectively, the Series 5 merges both ranges into one and replaces them immediately. Secondly, we improved the action by adding a Teflon sheet to the well-known felt. Together with a secret silicone sauce we use for lubrication, this gives you the smoothest experience ever. Number 3, the new locks give you better grip with an extra length and fine knurling and let you safely open and close the boom with just a quarter of a turn. We also improved on our anti-twist mechanism by replacing the protection pin with a special serration that automatically falls in place on reassembly, making an easy maintenance experience becoming a super easy maintenance experience. The fourth innovation are the new tip and optional bottom end that allow for easy solder-free cable retrofit. You just take off the tip, insert the pre-configured cable, and plug it into the butt end. As usual, cable is available coiled for shorter length and straight for the longers. The bottom end is available with right angled or for straight cable configuration and also fits our older boom poles. Now you know you want one, but which one to get? So we have the classical 5 length of the QXS series that range from 6 to barely 18 feet, but we added a 6th model, and Günther is now going to demonstrate you the new QP5150 that extends to a whooping length shy of 21 feet. So that was it for the brand new Quick Pole Series 5. Looking forward to see you with proper social distancing on Sound Summit 2020.
We're now joined with Klaus from Ambient. Klaus, can you hear us? Okay, actually, they may not be able to hear you until I change my preference. Unfortunately, I have to do a little mechanics here to get audio in. So Klaus, let's see if we can hear you.
Okay, here I am. Can you hear me?
I think we can hear you, yes. Excellent. So we just saw your presentation. Anything you want to add to the...
Honestly, I didn't see the presentation. So what, was it the boom pole thing?
Yes, it was your boom pole presentation.
I forgot to log in on that remote machine by so that's a little bit. I mean, yeah, basically, you think you can't do so much about a simple thing like a boom pole, and we've been doing now boom poles for almost 30 years. Surprisingly, you can. So you really can improve on a product that at first glance is quite simple. And we're very happy that once again we push the limits of what you can do to that product, and we think it will make everybody happy, whoever gets one, because it has all the benefits of both ranges that we introduced in the last years, the ENG focus series and the feature foam, the standard boom poles. So it merges really both benefits without sacrificing. Quite contrary, it's I think up to now it's the best boom pole we ever made. I mean, there's still the QS. We're going to maintain that QS. 4 sections do have a certain benefit, but we can go longer with that in YouTubing, and you've seen it in with the QP5150, which goes up to almost 21 feet. So we're very proud of that, and we hope our customers will appreciate it and like it the way we do.
Well, thank you very much, Klaus. We've got a few more minutes until the next presentation, which is going to be from Electrosonics. So let's go to the whole group here at the Sound Summit here. Let's go out to the entire group. So these are all the participants that we have here at Sound Summit, and so everybody wave and show. So we've got manufacturers behind us here that are participating. So we're very pleased that you're joining us here, and we've got numerous videos throughout the day. You can see the schedule, and so we're gonna take a pause for a few minutes, and we're gonna come back at 10:10 with the Electrosonics latest product.
Hi, Carl Winkler here at Electrosonics, and in this video I'm going to be showing you the new IFB R1B receiver pack and its associated charging dock system. This is an exciting new product family that replaces a nearly 20-year-old design. First, what I want to show you is how the R1B and the older R1A are similar. Both units are 100% analog and utilize a narrowband signal with plus or minus 20 kHz maximum deviation. This means that the new receiver packs are totally compatible with the existing IFB T4 transmitters or any digital hybrid wireless transmitter operating in IFB compatibility mode, as long as they're in the right frequency range. The audio bandwidth is the same with both units. They're designed for speech, not music. That said, the new receiver is quieter and sounds better due to the much newer design. They both provide mono audio. Both units are made from the same tough aluminum case. The new one is just about half as tall and about half the weight of the old one. Both units are made in the USA in our factory in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Both units have a knurled aluminum knob with a protective shroud to prevent accidental changes to the volume. And the new one has an anodized finish instead of the older powder-coated case. Okay, so let's talk about what's new in the IFB R1B. For as long as I've been at Electrosonics, we've been asked for a smaller IFB receiver. And here it is. As I mentioned just a minute ago, this unit is just over half the size and weight of the older one. On the top panel here, you can see the headphone jack, and next to it, the blue Link LED showing you that it is receiving a good signal. Next to the knob is the power battery status LED, similar to the one on the R1A. The R1B ships standard with a wire belt clip, and users who want the clamp style clip can get the IFB R1B BC SL, which attaches with two small screws. The UHF versions of the IFB R1B tune across three standard Electrosonics blocks, just like the SRC, SM wideband family, and several other products from the past few years. We're making these in the A1, B1, and C1 bands. In addition, we're making a VHF version that covers the same range as the old one, 174 to 216 MHz. And we're making one in the 941 band as well. Next is the battery. The old one used a 9-volt battery, while the new one uses a rechargeable lithium-ion cell. This is the same battery used in our SSM transmitter, the LB50. We source these directly from the manufacturer, so we know the quality is good. The runtime for a fully charged battery is 8+ hours. And perhaps the biggest news of all is the accessory charging dock system. The CHS IFB R1B module can charge up to 4 units or 4 batteries in any combination. And for larger installations, these can be docked together with up to 4 units off a single power supply to charge up to 16 batteries or units in any combination. As you can see, this is a huge advantage for any fast-paced environment where you have people who just come in, pick up their receiver pack, and use it. When they're done, they can just turn it off and slot it back into the charger. You're all set. Next up in the differences with the new unit is the display. We finally moved past the hex switches. In fact, the IFB R1A was the last model of anything that we made that used them. The R1B uses the same backlit LCD as the SM series and SSM. Here, you can see that the frequency can be displayed or the preset number. Speaking of presets, the IFB R1B allows you to program up to 10 presets, and the steps to add or delete them are simple. Probably the most common method people will use is to choose a frequency to match a particular transmitter or one from a coordinated list, then go to the preset screen, select a slot, and then save it by holding preset and pressing the up arrow. To delete a preset, just hold preset and press the down arrow. Now, when scrolling the preset list, only those slots that are programmed will show in the list. As you can see, the IFB R1B has some very exciting features. Most of all, the dock charging capability and the small size. The LCD and the new preset feature are just icing on the cake. Want to learn more? Download the datasheet and the manuals from our website, and visit your dealer for a demo. I'm Carl Winkler. Thanks for watching.
And we're joined with Carl Winkler here. Carl, give me just a moment so I can make certain we get Zoom audio out to our listeners.
You got it.
It's a little cumbersome, so we've got Zoom audio now out to our listeners. So, Carl, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, John. And it's wonderful to be here in this virtual environment with all of my industry colleagues, or many of them anyway. And great to see the comments out there and everybody watching. Hope you enjoyed the little video about the IFB R1B. Some of you may have seen it before, but I figured I'd be here to answer questions and show you some of the things that maybe the video doesn't cover. I've got one of the dock charging units here. And what I can show you is that there's a special connector for the power supply as well as fused. And we do this because we don't want anyone to use one of our standard receiver power supplies for this unit. It's a 5-volt, 9-amp supply, so we can be charging up to 16 units or batteries or any combination. And on this side, you see the docking part, and on the other side, the mating connectors for those docks. And normally these are covered on the end when they're not being used, like this. And so here we see 2 units docked together. And all of this, up to 4 of these, would be run off of a single power supply, which makes it convenient. So an all metal. These are actually quite compact. I'm sure you noticed the difference in size between the old unit and the new one. And then the charging docks themselves are quite compact. Although we also do make a unit that charges up to 12 batteries in a 1 RU, and we originally developed that for the SSM. This is the same battery as what we used in the SSM. So that's the new system. And you saw in there, of course, we've got 3 different UHF ranges, the A1, the B1, and the C1 being used for mostly export markets at this point. We've got the VHF with the red knob, and then the 941, which is North America only at this point, has the black knob. So that's how you can easily tell which one is which. And what I didn't show you really in the video as well is the bottom of the unit. Hopefully you can see that with enough detail. But it's the battery door slides open like this. Battery installs here, comes out easily, and is closed like that. And then there you can see the port where when you plug it in, the port is covered with a little spring-loaded flap. When you dock it, it obviously opens, and you can see here how the pins mate to that. So a lot of work went into this, and we're happy it's already shipping, and we're getting a good response from it so far. So I'm just going to check to see if there's any questions that anyone might be asking about it. Let's see here.
Looks like you got a question. Is scrolling through presets the same as the R1A?
No, it's a little different. Presets are basically going to be using the up and down arrows. Once they're programmed, which is fairly easy, you can pick a frequency and then save it as a preset. And then the presets will, only the ones that are programmed will show. If I hit the preset button here, we can see that one, number 4, is empty. Preset 2, let's see. So as you scroll through them, only the ones that you've programmed will play through the list, which is kind of nice. So you can have up to 10 and use the up and down arrows very easily to scroll through those 10 presets.
Nice, excellent. Well, thanks, Carl. We've got a little bit of time. We got a little 10-minute break until 10:30 for the Ursa presentation. So
Great.
We'll go ahead and go to the static slide here, and we'll see you back in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you.
Hi, this is Simon from Ursa. Thank you very much for tuning into the Sound Summit, and thank you for Sound Devices for holding this summit. It's a really great idea, and at this time it's just nice to have a kind of a collective sort of presence of people with sharing ideas. I really look forward to sort of chatting with people later on in the live video. But yeah, Laura and I have been sort of in London quarantine conditions. It's been very weird to not be able to go out and see friends and go to events, and it's been a real sort of difficult period to get through, and sadly it feels like it's going to be going on for quite a while longer. I guess this video, it might just be more useful to talk about how we have to deal with the conditions of social distancing for film productions now. What we'll have to do to be able to do our jobs under different conditions, and how we can change our workflow and sort of change our approach to talent and how we wire them up, specifically radio mics. We don't really know what it's going to look like in the coming months when it comes to film shoots. Maybe there won't be any, maybe some will come back on, and if they do, will we be wiring them up like we did before, or will we be having to apply a different method? I suspect that we're going to have to be very careful when it comes to radio microphones, and quite likely we'll be leaving either the talent to wire themselves, or possibly the costume person to put it on, as they may have a bit more intimate contact with that talent. So I suspect that if we are in a situation where you can't get too close to the talent and we can't touch the radio mics, then we're going to have to be relying on them putting it on themselves, which never has gone down particularly well in the past. But a couple of tips that we could give is that obviously we would highly recommend washing Ursa straps every day. What you should do is, if you put them in the washing machine, then that's absolutely fine. Put them on 40. We recommend 40. If your production asks you to do it higher than 40, then you can wash them at 60. That is absolutely fine. We just recommend 40, as it's sort of the normal temperature you would wash garments at. But if you want to wash them at 60, that's absolutely fine. The straps will hold up, and you can put them in a tumble dryer on a sort of medium cupboard dry heat, and that's absolutely fine. If you put them in at like a really high temperature, they may shrink very slightly. That's what the fabric does. But then if you give it a stretch, it will come back to its regular size. In terms of cleaning other products of ours, I mean, you can use an alcohol wipe on our mini mounts, and just if they need to clean those sections. And we'd recommend also, if you've got a little zipper case that we do, putting the strap and the wire and the transmitter and like a spare battery and any other tapes or consumables that an artist might need, a costume person might need, to give everyone separate bags. And I think what's happening in the UK at the minute is the sound guy on any shoots which are going on, there are no boom operators on these shoots. It's like there's just one sound guy, and he gives the talent a pack and the mic, and they put it on themselves, and they keep it, and they wash it, and then they wear it the next day, and then they give it back to the sound guy when they're finished with it. So these are the kind of conditions we might have to work under. And we hope to keep in touch with you guys and let you know how things change in the UK, and if there's any other, we hope to be doing some sort of new videos talking about sort of wiring yourself and giving some tips and tricks to talent if they do have to wire themselves. So we're in a different world now, guys, and unfortunately things are going to change, and we might not be going back to the regular routines that we were once in. So fingers crossed we can, but if we can't for the time being, then they hope to be sharing some methodology with you guys soon of how we can cope. But the lovely Kim and Todd in LA have still been doing Ursa exclusives for us. We're really happy with the latest one they did with Tom Curley about Whiplash. It's such a wicked video, and we hope to release some more of those soon. We're going to be doing some more sort of video-based Ursa exclusives coming soon, and possibly some other little tips and tricks videos for Instagram and Facebook. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this quick intro. There's a little video we're going to put after this, which is just a video that Todd and Kim have put together with some of our products. So I hope you enjoy that, and I hope you can tune in for the live stream after this. Thank you.
All right, we're in the Zoom. Just give us a quick moment to get audio from the Zoom into the stream here. And we now have audio from the stream into the, from Zoom into the stream. All right, so Simon, you're into the stream here.
Cool. Hello. Cool. All right. Thank you so much, John, for getting this all organized, putting this together. I see some friends in the chat. I see Petrushka and Mark Ulano. Thank you for tuning in. Adrian. Hello, Adrian. It's really nice. John Mitchell and Vinod, how are you guys doing? And Julian Sennett, it's really cool that you put this on and there's loads of people tuning in. So it's really great. I just thought it was like kind of relevant right now to talk a little bit about the coronavirus and how we're going to have to adapt to that, and that's going to really change our workflow quite a lot. And there's been a lot of talk online about how we approach artists now and what's going to be the new rules. And I think every country is going to be different, and it's going to be very difficult to do shoots when you're traveling internationally into different places with different rules about social distancing. And it's a really unusual and unprecedented time, as people are constantly saying. So I thought I'd sort of focus the video about like washing and sanitizing the products and how you can do that. And yeah, I hope that was somewhat useful. We hope to continue to do things like this to sort of educate a little bit about how you might be able to ask actors to do it via themselves. And that might be, unfortunately, a thing that is coming to us, where productions will say this actor won't want to be wired up, so they're going to want to do it themselves. And I feel like that may well happen now more than it already has been happening. So yeah, that's definitely a theme which I think we're going to have to come to terms with. Are there any questions?
I think the questions are always like, what's the latest, what's new, what's coming up?
Yeah, what's new? Yeah, I know. I've kind of been a bit shy about releasing any new stuff on this. We've got some new mini mounts coming out very soon. There's a whole different design. There's some really cool little new tricks we've added into our mini mount range, which will allow people to rig themselves very easily. That's kind of the new thing with those. So if you are going to be having to hand over mini mounts to people, we're going to be allowing it to be easy for people to put it onto their own body. I don't want to give away too much right now, but we're going to have a little video and some images of that quite soon. But we have a new range of mini mounts coming out, and we've already kind of done some things with our current range of mini mounts. I know you guys, anyone who's got a 6060 may have seen these kind of tiny little dots mini mounts. That these have been available now in black and white for a little while, and these have been quite popular with people who just want to get it right on the edge in a tiny mount. But yeah, it's mostly I just thought I'd mostly focus talking about sort of washing. Though we've had a lot of people asking us about some of the people asking us, are we making face masks? I don't know where that came from, but we are, but we're not doing it as Ursa. Laura and I have been volunteering for the an NHS trust, and they've been making gowns and they've been making face masks, and we've been going in and doing a lot of that recently, which is why Ursa's been a bit quiet. So there's massive lack of PPE in the UK, and Laura is a very good sewer, so that's what we've been up to there. That I saw that in the questions. Are you making face masks?
Gotcha.
But we're not doing it for sale or anything. These are all just going to a local hospital.
Very nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, an Ursa quarantine tent. Yeah, actually, that's one thing. I've got this really cool tent that you can put your sound kit in and keeps it all dry. I can imagine actors being wanting those sorts of things when it comes to radio mics.
All right. Well, that's thank you for all the questions, and we're going to get to our next presentation. So that's another presentation from Ambient.
Cool. Thank you for tuning in.
Hello, I'm Klaus with Ambient. Welcome to the Sound Summit 2020, and today I want to show you yet another refinement to our product line. Quite a few of you might be familiar with our UMP, a universal microphone power supply that allows you to operate your boom microphone on belt pack transmitters that do not provide the necessary power. While it was largely popular, when manufacturers tried to squeeze more and more juice into their rechargeables and eventually busted the technical restrictions of the AA form factor, the cells wouldn't fit anymore. So Houston, we have a problem. Last year we introduced the shrunk locket, and when we looked at it, we immediately knew we had found a new dream form factor. So welcome the UMP3. Size at 44 by 66 by 20 cubic millimeters, clocking in at under 100 grams and powered by an NP50 battery, the de facto industry standard for rechargeables, it is not only the smallest and lightest, but also the greenest powerhouse for wireless booming. So its high efficiency converter delivers 12 or 48 volt phantom, beefy enough to power the most demanding microphones. Keepers of old T-powered treasures will be happy to learn that we have not forgot about them, and it delivers 12 volt T-power on demand. Oh, I referred to the locket, and you also might know us as the Timecode company. So frankly, we had something in preparation for NAB, but when that was cancelled, we decided to keep our latest development a little bit longer under the radar. But stay confirmed, we're on our way to once again push the limits, and soon we'll announce something that hopefully will blow your mind. So that was it. See you in the Q&A on Sound Summit 2020 in person. Goodbye.
And we're going to hop back into the Q&A here. Just give me a moment to change audio sources for the Zoom chat to get Klaus's audio back into the stream. So Klaus, you alluded to something new, Klaus. Can you tell us anything about that?
A new thing?
Ooh, you're showing something there, huh?
A little sneak peek. Well, I mean, I posted something on our Facebook group already, so and can't go without a little bit of teasing what it is.
So in terms of Ambient, maybe just give us a little, in terms of your operation, are you still in the office? Are you still shipping? What does it look like from that standpoint?
I wouldn't say we're fully operative. I mean, the thing is, I live very, very close by. So sometimes I just escape my private den and sneak over. Actually, I do that on a daily basis. And sales is working in shifts. So is service. So we are operational in a certain extent, not fully, but I mean, business has slowed down anyway. So I wouldn't say you would see slow in response when addressing us with sales or service inquiries. So we're there.
Yep. And maybe we'll bring it out to the full group here. Anybody else want to comment in terms of, kind of what your operations look like, and, are you able to respond to customer inquiries, and kind of what does that look like?
I do, if need be, sure.
So Carl, question for you: Are you doing service repair? What is that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're accepting services. I mean, we've been doing in Germany. We've been doing services for not our products alone, but also Sound Devices products together with Berlin and now England. So if it's small things that and little operations, we do that. And the same goes for all the other brands we carry, Electrosonics. So we have Alex, our RF buff, is coming in on a frequent basis if things require that. So reaction is immediate. So question here, battery life. So actually yesterday we set up, it's still in development. So it's going to be available in June, July, around. I mean, everything is slowed down right now. So we're still working on the prototype. It hosts a processor which makes things dependent from software. We've seen a good 10 hours on a Sanken CS3, and this morning we put on a CMIT on it, and I thought I could have an answer by now, but it was running 7 hours plus on that NP50 battery. So we're looking at a very good runtime on that.
Excellent.
John, from the Electrosonics perspective, it's very similar to what Klaus just mentioned. Our service department's been open on a part-time basis throughout the shutdown here. And basically running depending on demand, giving priority to news organizations since they're considered essential business. And at this point, we're gradually ramping up our operations on a very careful basis with cleaning and sanitizing kind of procedures in place, and everyone wears a mask in the office. Obviously, I'm not wearing one now, but if I were to get up and walk around, I've got it ready. And so, the sales team's all been working from home for the most part, marketing, doing whatever projects, working on these videos remotely has been interesting, as you can imagine. But it's been going well, and we are, like they say, responding. Everyone's responding on social media and via email, and we just turned on the phones and brought a receptionist back in to reroute calls as of this Monday. So, and essentially, we're in operation, but we're scaling it up and down depending on demand and the order input and things like that.
Yeah, that's similar to what Sound Devices is doing. We have our we have our Reedsburg facility, which is open. We've brought up a secondary process called these face shields that we've been doing, which we're delighted to be able to supply those locally and regionally to help out with first responders and such. Our Madison office, fortunately, most of the folks that work out of there are able to work remotely, so software engineers and marketing and sales folks. So they're all remote. So we're still existing and operating. From a service repair standpoint, we're continuing to address service repair issues. Those we're obviously getting too much slower. So again, prioritizing, just as Electrosonics is with news organizations and such. So we've got a few minutes. So we're gonna go to a little pause until 11 o'clock when we jump on with Paul Isaacs, who's going to show us the overview of the 8 series. See you in a few. right, Paul, your audio is going to be joining us in just a minute here. Here we
Okay.
go. There we go. So now we've got you.
Okay.
Excellent.
So am I actually live right now or not?
You are live, yes.
Okay. So yeah, this is Paul and I'm talking to you here from sunny Wisconsin. And this is live. This is not a pre-recorded video, so anything could happen. But anyway, over the course of the next hour, I'm going to be talking to you about the 8 series, the new CL16, and the upcoming SL2 wireless accessory. But before I do, I'd like to thank you all for joining us, and all the manufacturers for joining us today in this here, the first maiden voyage of the Virtual Sound Summit. So yeah, this is an interesting experiment. It's been very good so far. I hope all you and your families are healthy in this very challenging time, and I hope you're coping okay in these very challenging times financially for you all as well, as I expect many of you are not working, or most of you are not working. But let me leave you this one thought that I shared a few days ago on Facebook. You know, with all this binge watching that we're all doing on TV at the moment, you know, it's not going to be long before Netflix, Amazon, HBO, BBC, etc. have nothing left to air. And at that point, you'll all be deemed as emergency workers. So that's a positive thought. Anyway, let's get on with this. What is the 8 series? Well, let's have a look, shall we? I'm just going to switch my camera and hopefully you'll see them here, right? So you can see 3 models just there. At the bottom, the Scorpio, in the middle, the 888, and then at the very top, the little baby 833. Now, the 8 series is our next generation series of portable battery-powered mixer recorders, and they're ideal for both bag and cart. Now, you can think of the 8 series not as just these 3 models, but you can also think of the 8 series as a customizable ecosystem of gear, where the actual mixer recorder, the 833, the 888, or the Scorpio, is at the heart of that ecosystem, which integrates mixing, recording, wireless audio, USB controllers, Bluetooth control, timecode sync. It's really the heart of everything that your production sound environment needs. And, you know, this is, especially today with, you know, modern sound for picture productions, they're becoming more and more complex. There's a need for higher channel counts, greater need for wireless audio, a need for more output feeds, more versatile routing capability and comms, and also the ability to interact with other devices via networked audio. So this is what the 8 series brings. Now, the one thing to note here is that the 8 series is a brand new hardware design and has a brand new operating system. There is nothing at all in common with the previous 6 series and 7 series models. The 6 series actually was sort of like built upon the 7 series architecture. But the 8 series is brand new from scratch, and it was a multi-year development to make that happen. Everything had to be redeveloped and rewritten from scratch. And it's a far more efficient and powerful hardware and operating system, so we're able to do a lot with it. And one of the things that underlies the hardware architecture is multiple FPGAs, an FPGA being a field programmable gate array. And the best way to really describe what that is that it's programmable hardware in the such that we can sort of manipulate the architecture of the hardware after release to a certain extent. So that gives us much more flexibility moving forward in terms of evolving the product and adding new features. So it's a very flexible architecture there. My personal opinion is that the design of the 8 series, although it looks very similar to the 6 series, it's a beautiful design, both mechanically and from a UI perspective. I mean, if you get your hands on one of these, you'll feel the same solid build quality that you got with the 788T. the absolute precision mechanism from the double jointed media door to the clever battery mount eject system to the multicolored ring LEDs. There's some real nuances in the mechanical design. And I think that's important, to have a device that feels that you can fall in love with. So we feel confident that this new 8 series architecture and design is going to be with us for a long time. Don't really like to use the word future-proof. You hear that so often, but I do feel very confident that this product line will be around for the next 10 to 15 years, and it will evolve. It's got the power to do that. So it has the platform for now and well into the future. So let's talk about some details here, and talk about the sort of things that set the 8 series mix recorders apart from any other system that's currently out there. So let's just talk about tracks for a start. A lot of tracks. On the Scorpio, you have 36 tracks. That's 32 ISO channels plus 4 mix channels. On the 888, you have 20 tracks. That's 16 ISOs plus 4 mix tracks. And then you have the 833, which is 8 ISO channels plus 12 tracks. So something for all occasions there. With those track counts, you can record up to 192 kilohertz sampling, which may not be necessary for production sound, but certainly for sound effects, that's important. You can actually do 36 tracks of 96 kilohertz, simultaneously recording all of those tracks at 96 kilohertz across 3 media at the same time, an internal SSD and 2 SD cards. That's a phenomenal amount of data. If you multiply 36 by 3, that's 108 tracks essentially that you're writing in real time at 96K to 3 media. That's never come close to that in any system. Even a computer system would struggle with that. Ability to handle high data rates is all part of this. The internal SSD, by the way, is 256 gigs, so plenty of storage there. But SD cards, they go up to 512 gig these days. And actually, there are a few 1 terabyte cards out there too. So, as I said, we can write all this audio to 3 media simultaneously. We can also choose where we want to write different tracks. We have this thing called a track to media routing matrix, which allows you to send ISOs to one media, mixes to another, maybe a transcription file to another. You can choose whether monophonic broadcast wave go to this media and poly to another. So you've got a huge amount of flexibility there. Now, one thing to note is this is the first portable recorder on the market which will allow you to do files much larger than 4 gigabytes. The broadcast wave spec, the standard broadcast wave spec is limited to 4 gigabytes. Actually, the disk format of FAT32 is limited to 4 gigabytes too. But on the 8 series, we support both exFAT, which can handle disk files of in excess of terabytes of information, and also broadcast wave 64-bit, otherwise known as RS64, we support. So now you can essentially record one long file way beyond 4 gigabytes in size, and you know, have no splits in those files. So the most important, one of the big things about the 8 series is, especially the Scorpio, is the vast number of inputs and outputs to choose from. And I'm going to just close in here and show you very quickly what sort of range of inputs we have. So I'm just going to bring this a bit closer. You can see that. And if I go to my source menu here, you can see that on the Scorpio, I have 16 mic line inputs, 6 SL6 wireless inputs. I have 32 channels of Dante to choose from. I have 4 channels of AES digital in to choose from, but I can expand that with something called an XLAES accessory, which brings another 8 channels of digital input. And then I have 6 further line inputs, which I can choose from there. And also USB inputs. If I want to record from a computer, if I want to record a remote contributor over audio over IP, I can do that too.
Hey, Paul, could you just clarify exactly how many AES inputs are on each of these devices? That's a question from
Right. So on the Scorpio, we have 4 built in. On the 888, we have 4 built in, 4 channels, i.e. two XLRs. And on the 833, we have 2 digital in. But as I just mentioned, we have an accessory called the XLAES, which adds a further 8 channels of AES to any of the 3 models. And it connects to the top of the unit via an expansion port. Okay, so yeah, on the Scorpio, we have in excess of like 70 different physical inputs to choose from, and they can be routed in any combination to channels, ISO channels, buses, outputs, or whatever you want to do there. The other thing I'd like to talk about right now is the MixPre-Is. Obviously, these are a very important part of any audio recorder. These are our best MixPre-Is to date. You know, everyone loves our previous MixPre-Is. They're all good. A lot of people were very fell in love with the 788T preamps, but on paper, the 8 series mic preamps are quite a lot superior to the 788T in terms of their noise specs. I think we're down to minus 131 dBV EIN, which is pretty as close as you can get to like what physics, the laws of physics allow. We also have more than 10 dBs of dynamic range compared to the 788T. These are phenomenal mic preamps, but I know preamps are a subjective thing. You should try them out and see what you think. And you'll be able to really ascertain the quality of them very well, because the headphone preamp built into the 8 series is also a really nice preamp with a huge amount of drive power for any types of headphones, and you get a really good full frequency response over the headphone output. So by all means, try that if and when you get a chance. So yeah, we've a lot of inputs available. We've spoken about the USB AES mic, wireless, integrated wireless inputs. We're going to talk more about integrated wireless a bit later. But the real new thing here is Dante. And the Scorpio supports 32 channels in and out of Dante. The 888 supports 16 channels in and out of Dante. The 833 doesn't support Dante. But the importance of Dante can't be underestimated these days. As I mentioned before, with complex productions, the need to expand systems according to whatever the requirements of production are. Dante really does allow that in a very easy way, since it allows multiple channels to be brought into the 8 series environment or taken out of the 8 series environment to other Dante-enabled devices over essentially a single standard Cat5 cable. I'm not going to go too much into the advantages of Dante now, because we have other presentations on that. But it really is a game changer. We were the first to bring Dante into a production sound product about 4 or 5 years ago with the PIX 970 and the PIX 260s. And since then, it really has grown, and we continue to push it because we believe it is a really big deal. For instance, you can very easily bring in an A10 rack, which is our cart-based rack mount 8-channel wireless receiver panel, via one Cat5 cable. So it's very easy to bring in 8 channels of wireless over Dante, and actually 16 channels of wireless over Dante if you have 2 A10 racks daisy chains together. Now, we've spoken mainly about inputs right now, but let's talk about outputs. Again, outputs are probably more important than inputs these days. You need to be able to feed, multiple things to various crew members on set. A lot of IFP going on. So you've got 12 analog outputs. You've got 32 Dante outputs, 2 USB outputs if you want to use your device as a hub for conferencing. And you have 8 channels of digital AES as well. So many outputs there. Let's move on to talk a little bit about the processing capability. And this is just scratching the surface of what the FPGA allows us to do. But we have 16-channel auto mixers built in, either Dan Dugan or Mix Assist. I mean, we supported these on the 6 series and the 7 series as well. But now you have 16-channel auto mixers. And in fact, you've got 2 of them. You can have 2 independent mono auto mixers or 1 16-channel stereo auto mixer, Dugan or Mix Assist accordingly. We also have full parametric 3-band EQ. Let's just take a look at what an EQ looks like. If I come into a channel screen and come down here and turn on a channel, bypass that. So I'm going to just come in here, get a bit closer for you. So now you can see I can very easily scroll along and create EQ curves accordingly. So that's all built in on the first 16 channels of the 8 series. Is available on all 3 models. All of these processing capabilities are available on all 3 models. There's no cutback there depending on the model. And then also we have things like limiters. Obviously, again, we've gone really to town on our limiters. You have control over threshold, release time, ratio, actually from 10 to 1 all the way up to infinity to 1. So it gives you a good range of control there. You have the ability to apply, you've got limiters on both the pre-fade bus, the post-fade bus, and the buses themselves. And you have independent limiter indicators at all stages, so that you always know whereabouts in the audio signal path you are limiting, whether it's in the pre, post, or bus domain. And obviously we have input and output delay as well for those situations, input delay for working with wireless to compensate for wireless delay, and also output delay to compensate for video delay going to Video Village or what have you. Now, one of the really cool things about the 8 series is what we can do with routing. And this is the routing capability on the 8 series is more akin to that of a digital live console, where you really need to do some very advanced, often complex routing scenarios. So the way it works with the 8 series is you have your inputs. An input is a physical connector, like a mic XLR or a Dante source or a USB source or whatever. It's a physical input. You then choose where you route those inputs, and they can be routed in any combination to any channel. And a channel is your ISO track, essentially. You can route an input to multiple channels. So if you want one input to go to, if you wanted to, 16 channels, you could, and you could have different gains and different processing on each of those channels. So it's like having a full digital patch bay. Once you've got your input to a channel, you can then route that channel to any one of 12 mix buses. Your main mix buses are obviously left and right, but you have 10 other mix buses on the Scorpio. On the 888, you have 8 mix buses, and on the 833, you have 4 extra mix buses. And these mix buses are totally independent. You can send different proportions of each channel to each of these buses in different amounts. You're not reliant on the pre or post fader setting of your left-right mix. And this is totally new. This is more typical of what you'd see on a digital console where you're doing bus sends on faders, for instance, in a live music scenario where you want to send different monitor feeds to the musicians on stage. But equally, this is important on a production set where you need to be able to send different mixes to crew members. You know, the director might want more of the boom, the producer might want more of, you know, the lead actor or something like that. You can set up all of these mixes totally independently without affecting what you're actually recording. Okay, a couple of other quick, unique features I want to talk about. 8 series is the first device to allow the ability to arm during recording. What a great feature for reality shows this is, where you don't have the luxury to necessarily stop recording because it's like constant unscripted dialogue. And, you know, if you were to stop and restart again to arm a track to bring in another contestant or what have you, you might miss those words of wisdom. Not that talent reality show people often come out with words of wisdom, but nevertheless, you have the ability to do that. So while recording, you can simply go into record here, and while you're recording, I can scroll down to a channel and hold in my button and actually disarm multiple tracks, and it's going to seamlessly create a new take, sample seamlessly. I can then sort of very easily bring in a whole bunch more people, and it will start to record there as well. Okay, another really cool feature is something we call post-roll. Not pre-roll, but post-roll. And I think every sound mixer has experienced this, where they think the director calls cut, they hit stop, and then the tail slate hadn't been clapped out. So it can be frustrating. With post-roll, you can hit stop, and if you realize that you shouldn't have stopped, you can hit the record button again, and it will go back into record within the same take. So that's a really useful feature, and you get up to 10 seconds of post-roll. Some improvements on, big improvements on metadata editing and sound report handling. The 6 series and the 7 series were very limited to track file name lengths. 9 characters for scene name wasn't very good, but now with the 8 series, you've got many more characters to play with, so you can have some really long descriptive file names. We also now allow PDF sound reports, which as well as CSV sound reports, and they can be created using the new SD Remote app. And actually, here, I'll just quickly show this. I'm running the SD Remote app on an iPad mini right now, and it's talking to the 8 series via Bluetooth. We've got these built-in Bluetooth antennas, and I tell you something, the range you get out of the Bluetooth is phenomenal. I've had 40 meters without a single dropout, so it's really, the range is much better than on any other Bluetooth product we've done. But yeah, your SD Remote app here is essentially Wingman on steroids, a lot more capabilities, metadata editing, metering, transport creation, and the like. Not going to spend too much time on that now, but let's move on. So other important aspect of a portable recorder is obviously powering. Now, one thing we've added to this, which we brought from the 788 table, is the ability to charge your batteries. In fact, you can mount 2 L-mount lithium-ion batteries on the rear panel of your 8 series, and they can be charged as well from external CC within the unit. It's really nice because you can just leave them on there all the time, and just at the end of the day, just charge them up, and you know you've always got a really good backup well of power there. We can also work with smart batteries, and what that is batteries that provide a data output which give really accurate battery remaining time. In fact, if I take you up to my 633 here, you can see in the display at the top, it's reading out a percentage value and an exact duration remaining, 79% and 7 hours remaining off that smart battery. So they are available, and we work with those very well. Now, throughout the whole design of the 8 series, we really spent a lot of time ensuring, because there's so much power in these boxes, so much capability, we wanted to make sure that we did everything possible to save power when it wasn't necessary. So that's throughout the entire design. But just to give you one example, if you're not using Dante, the 8 series knows you're not using Dante, and it will shut down the Dante circuitry and save you power, which is really important. And it does that simply by a Hall sensor in the Ethernet hatch on the rear panel of the device. If the hatch is open, it knows Dante is connected. It's sprung loaded, so if there's nothing connected, it's going to close and turn off power. There's things like that running through the whole design of the 8 series. Timecode, well, of course, there's timecode in the 8 series. It has all the modes you'd expect, same as the 6 series and the 7 series. But I guess one really big advantage of the 8 series is that now you can sync and get your timecode over a single cable. If you're doing long takes, for instance, it's sometimes necessary to also have a word clock as well as your timecode. With the 8 series, you don't need that. You just need to connect your timecode signal, and the 8 series will phase lock loop to that timecode stream coming in and synchronize the system clock to that. It makes it much easier to provide super zero drift lock sync to external gear. One of the things we're very proud of with the 8 series is how customizable the UI and navigation is. We know that every user has different preferences for the way they like to interact with their recorders, so we've really gone to town on giving you that option to play, configure it the way you like, much more than we've ever done before. You've got 12 customizable headphone meter presets where you can choose what meter presets there are. Very quickly, I can show you, here they are. In here, I've got 12 presets. I select any one of them. I can change meter range, meter view, all sorts of things, where the track name should appear, where the meter should be grayed out when disarmed, all sorts of things. Once you've configured those 12 presets, you can do things like easily access them by holding a menu and then hitting a PFL switch to quickly go to that meter view. So lots of clever things there. We also have the ability to map buttons just very quickly. So I can also navigate any menu I like. Instead of going into the menu here and scrolling and entering screens, what have you, I can actually do that by holding the menu button and very quickly flicking a PFL. Then I can go to different menus just by doing that. We have a similar thing for headphone encoders. Hold the headphone encoder, go to a headphone preset, and that's the way you do that. We have these two toggle switches on the front, which can be customizable to like many different functions in the unit. We'll talk more about that when it comes to controllers. You can see just in terms of the UI here how beautiful these ring LEDs are. We sort of took that from the 788T, but we went a step further and made these multicolor. They can be blue, they can be purple, green, orange, yellow, any color you like. So they really convey all sorts of information. They're RGB LEDs. Now the front panel here on the Scorpio is you have 12 faders, 6 large ones, and then 6 mini ones, and then you have trim controls associated with each of those first 12 ISO channels. The other channels are accessible by using your toggle switch here and quickly moving a PFL to access those. Obviously, you can access those higher ISO channel numbers from controllers even faster than that. On the 888, there are 8 fader trim combinations, and the other channels are available in the menu. And then on the 833, there are 6 trim fader channel controls from the front there. So I'm going to move on. There's a lot more I could talk about. The last thing I want to talk about before moving on to the CL16 is actually the control ecosystem in general. Now, when we started out this project, we decided that we wanted to have an open protocol architecture for control so that it allowed really a lot of flexibility on how a user can control their whole system. So we decided that we're going to support the USB MIDI MCU protocol, which has been around for many years, and there's many controllers out there which support that. And off the bat, we already support controllers like the Icon M+, the X-Touch from Behringer, the Mackie controller. We also still support our CL12 controller. And very soon we've been working with Sonosax to support their little mini LC8 8 Plus controller, which is a really cute little controller, ideal especially for the small form factor 833 and the 888. So already out of the chute, we have like about 6 different controllers that you can work with the 8 series system. I'm going to talk more about the CL16 in a minute and focus on that in a minute, because that's now shipping. It's a new bespoke controller that we've developed. But I've already mentioned you can also control the 8 series system from your iPads, but not just iPads, also Android. And you can even hardwire via USB from that into an 8 series. And one thing I didn't mention is that the 8 series supports USB hubs. What does that mean? It means you can connect into the USB-A port on the right-hand panel here and connect a hub and connect multiple devices. I could have, for instance, a CL12 and an Icon M+ and a CL16 all connected, as well as a couple of SD remote apps running on Android, all via the same hub. And they'll all remain in sync and work together. This is where the 8 series really starts to feel like the center of your world. So you can obviously also connect USB keyboards, and you can even use USB keyboards which can be split to control multiple USB-As if you have the right third-party accessory where you can enter metadata on 2 8 series simultaneously from one keyboard. But that's a separate conversation for now. So at this point, I think it sort of is a good idea to move into the CL16. So I'm going to refocus things a little bit here.
All right, sounds good, Paul.
And bring in another camera. John, can you see? I know you can't yet, but you will in a minute. And then I'm going to bring that down
your
here.
camera. Yep.
I don't know if you can see that
We've
clearly.
got your overview. It's a little dark, but I think it's visible.
And you can see the bird's eye view as well, John.
We'll do a side by side. I'm gonna.
We'll start off just front view for now, John, and maybe.
All right. So yeah, we've got a top and bottom view.
Okay. Okay, you can see enough right now. Okay, so what you see in front of you right now is the just released, literally in the last couple of days, CL16, which is our bespoke controller for the Scorpio and 888. Support for the 833 will come later, but initially the Scorpio and the 888. And this controller really does bring the full potential of the 8 series to life. It's made for the cart. It fits within a 19-inch cart, no problem. You know, when you look at an 8 series, it doesn't really, well, it does seem much. But when you put the CL16 in front of it, you start to realize that this really is essentially a full digital live console recording system. The CL16 makes all of that functionality really easy to access. Let's talk about some of this stuff, shall we? So yes, this CL16 can control all and mix and record all 32 channels on your Scorpio, and obviously all 16 channels on your 888. And you might be asking, well, how do you do that with only, he says, 16 faders? There's no other controller out there right now with 16 faders like this. Actually, let's talk about these faders. These are the smoothest you can buy. They're Penny and Giles P&G faders. And we've made them such that they're easily removable. So P&G faders, as you know, are not motorized. And that is one of the reasons why they are so smooth. As soon as you put a motor on a fader, it adds friction. The mechanism adds friction to the fader, so it's not going to feel as smooth. So this was important to us. We had so many people saying they love P&G faders, so we added that instead of motorized faders. We've made these faders very easy to service yourself, unlike the CL12, which was a bit of an exercise. With this, it's very fast. It takes about 1 minute to 2 minutes to remove a single fader. It's simply 2 screws on the top panel here. There's a panel on the bottom of the unit, under the unit. It's just 2 screws there, it pops out, you unplug a cable, and literally the fader falls out. Very easy to clean if you need to clean them, and put them back in. So we have our beautiful faders here. And obviously the most obvious thing about this wonderful CL16 is this wonderful panoramic full width LCD, color LCD. And this is foldable, all right? So I can fold it down, everything's still active. It's so you can tuck it away on a sliding drawer very easily. And when you pull it out, then you can open it up. It's a beautiful LCD that's very easy to read also in direct sunlight, and it's got a very wide angle of view as well, which is really nice, I think. Not only do you have your 16 faders here, and by the way, on the Scorpio, the other channels for mixing are mixed on this middle row of faders here. Okay, so that's how you mix channels 17 through 32. Now, of course, we don't normally like to mix on rotary encoders, but you know, if it were me, I would route my less used channels on 17 through 32 and bring out the most important ones on my 16 faders here. Nevertheless, if you need to have linear faders for all 32 channels, you can do that right now. You can expand your system with a third-party controller like the Icon M+, or even have 2 Icon M+s and have each of those mapped to a different bank. So channels 17 through 24, and the next one mapped to channels 25 through 32. You could even have a third one, have that mapped to just your buses. So this again is where the flexibility of the USB MIDI protocol comes to life for us. Now let's just go up a channel strip here. Here's a fader, obviously. There's a toggle switch just above that, and that's your solo switch. And notice the ring LED around the trim pot starts flashing to let you know you're soloing. It also indicates that in the display as well. Here's my trim pot, and these are true analog pots with an end stop on each. So it's very easy to ride your fader and your trim at the same time and immediately see your trim level there. It's a practical system. Then we have above that, we have 2 rows of 16 multi-function continuous turns. So these turn continuously, and they have a press function. Knobs, and they all have ring LEDs as well. And these can be set to a myriad of different functions depending on what mode you are in, and you can customize this. So they could be set to EQ, gain and frequency for each of the channels. They could be set to pan controls. They could be set to my high pass filter controls or delay, or my fader values for 17 through 32, to output levels, to bus master gains. There's many different things that these can be set to, which really opens up the flexibility of the device. This trim pot also has a press function, and that is to mute. Now, you can't mute unless you press the menu button just here and then press a button. And notice it goes blue when you do that, when you're muting. So you can't accidentally mute anything. You can very easily arm tracks here by holding the arm button up here. And again, you have to keep your finger on the arm button to arm and disarm channels. It's very, very quick to do. And you can see that the ring LEDs go red when you're holding that arm button, so you know what's armed very quickly. Now, all of that information, as you probably saw, is displayed beautifully on the LCD. And if you look up the channel strip, everything's in perfect vertical alignment, okay? Where you have your strip here, then you get a channel name, so you can easily see what actor is on a channel. And then you see the metering for that channel. Then you see other data on the top row here. And that data on these 2 top rows of information changes depending on what mode you're in. Right now, it's showing, for instance, pan. And you can see as I adjust the pan, you can see the pan field go backwards and forwards. And here. So all sorts of information. Right now, on the top row encoders along here are controlling my outputs. So I can very easily mute an output just by holding the menu button and pressing an encoder, and you can see they go blue to let me know an output's muted. So if you want to prevent a feed going off to someone, you can do that super quickly. All right. Okay, the other thing that I haven't mentioned so far, quick few things, is we have what's called a fat channel. And really, a fat channel is a term that's used in digital consoles a lot for, it's really the equivalent to our channel screen. And you can access a fat channel by moving a toggle right instead of left. And when you do that, it solos the channel. The channel is highlighted white there. And now these 2 top rows of encoders can be used to set any parameter for that channel, whether it's delay, limiters, what source you want routed there. You can name that channel. You can adjust my EQ. For instance, if I turn my EQ on here, I can see it brings up the EQ screen on my, I don't know if you can see that. Yes, you can. Just about. Yes, you can. So you can adjust EQ and let's see, bring that in, set that there. Now I can bring up my various EQ bands here and adjust frequency, gain, Q factor, and all sorts of things there. Pressing meter button at any time takes you back to the main screen. If I want to go to my bank of 17 through 32, then I can just press the bank button, the screen goes green, and now I immediately know I'm adjusting things for channels 17 through 32. I have a bus view. So here now I'm looking at the 12 buses 1 through 10, and our main left-right mix. And I can do things here like arm buses as well. I can mute buses very simply. I can set gains for those buses on these encoders running along here. I can now also have bus sends on faders for each of these buses. So just hold the bus button and move a toggle. And now I'm looking at a bus 3 sends on faders. What does that mean? Now I'm sending a contribution of each channel to that particular bus. And this is where the power of this device comes out for sending multiple different mixes to various crew members on set. So very quickly let's just talk about a few bits of other information on the left here. We've got some information about the system in terms of SSD remaining time, SD remaining time, power, health, on the Scorpio and 888 itself, and the CL16. And then on the right hand side here, we have record function. We have obviously stop. Then you've got all your mode buttons, which I've been demonstrating right now. We have metadata control. I can very easily choose whether I want to edit next take metadata or current take metadata just by toggling the stop button. Notice when I go to next take, it's now a yellow field. So now pressing that allows me to edit next take, scene, etc. So, and then below that we have 5 programmable buttons. You can map these to almost any function within the Scorpio. We have a mapping menu where you simply just go to a learn mode, you press a button, it'll identify the button, and then you can route that to one of 100 different functions. And although we have 5 here, there's 5 buttons here, and you can see in the display here, whatever function you've allocated to those buttons is shown here, so you always know what they do. There is another layer. You've got another 5 controls which can be accessed by the bank button and these controls down here. And then below that, we have a section devoted to comms, monitoring returns and com returns, private line conversations, com1, com2. Then we have slating here and a bunch of other functions. So that's a very, very quick overview of the CL16. I do want to move on to something new now, John. So I'm going to move the CL16 back to create some space here.
Are we going to do 2 cameras, or do you want just a single camera?
No, just the one camera right now. So bear with me, guys. I think that's going to have to elevate things a little bit. So this is something that we announced several months ago, and let's see if we can make this work. Hold on. Do this. Oh, there you see it. Everyone see that? It's a product which isn't shipping yet. This is a totally new story. Can you see that, John?
We got it, yes.
Perfect. I hope it's close enough. So this is, yes, the SL2. And I guess this has been a long time coming. Ever since the days of the 633, we've had requests for an integrated wireless solution for the 633, but we don't have that, sorry. But what we do is we have that for the 8 series. And the SL2 is the first of a new range of SL integrated wireless accessories for the 8 series. This SL2 will not only fit on the 888, it will fit on the 833, but also the 888 and Scorpio. So what is it? It's basically a 2-slot integrated wireless chassis. And it's designed for simplifying the bag and getting rid of a whole bunch of cables, powering cables, audio interconnect cables, and allows you to control the system much easier from the actual recorder itself. It also includes, your RF distribution and powering distribution. So each slot now supports up to 4-channel super slot compatible receivers. We are receiver agnostic, as we've always been. That means you can choose which manufacturer's receiver or wireless systems you prefer to use. We're not forcing you to use any particular ones. We know everyone has their own preferences. So this system, this SL2, is compatible with Electrosonics, the SRB, SRC, and the SRC 941. Obviously our own audio limited A10s, the Wizicom MCR42, but crucially, also the upcoming MCR54, which is a 4-channel slot-based receiver. We also will be supporting the new Sony DWR S03D, and of course support for the Sennheiser EK6042. Now, the SL2 has an integrated antenna distribution system, which means you only have to have antennas plugged in here and here. And that's looped through and all handled within the SL2. We also have loop throughs of these antennas. And they are essentially post the filtering within the SL2, the filtering and attenuation. Not only do we have the antenna distribution, we also have power distribution. So all power is coming from the 8 series. We've really simplified and made more reliable the whole power distribution. So that all comes from the 8 series itself via this expansion port on the top of the unit and into here. So that's all handled seamlessly. Now, the other important thing about the SL2 is from the actual 8 series interface, we've got this new menu called Super Slot, and we can come in here and look at the SL2 information. And here's like the main overview of the SL2 receiver. And you can see basically aligned there vertically 8 channels, up to 8 channels of RF. I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. But from here, we can control the receiver gain, the receiver frequency. We can do RF scans. We can route any of these slotter outputs to any channel in any combination. So if I come into my routing screen again here, you can see that I have listed my SL2. And here I can select from any of these sources. So A refers to slot A and B refers to slot B. And within each of those, you have up to 4 channels for a total of 8 possible channels in a small box like so. Now, we also have on the rear of the SL2, let's have a look at here's one I prepared earlier. Ooh, maybe a tad close. Let's bring this back. On the rear panel of the SL2, we have 2 TA3s, and that supports 4 channels of AES, ideal for working with non-super slot based digital receivers. So this is where, there you can see how the system looks with Electrosonics and Wizicom in there. Pretty, eh? But not as pretty as that. Anyway, so yeah, so you can see now how from the channel screen I can select any of the slots or any of the rear panel AES signals coming in there. Okay, I'm going to just lower this a bit more. Here you go. All right, and let's go back into my super slot screen. And now you may have noticed something. Let's take a look at that top row, and we're just monitoring their wireless coming in on channel A1 of the SL2. And you can see that on the left, we're metering the audio level, and it shows us also the frequency. But on the right-hand side, we've got this other graph, and that is RF history. So it's basically giving us the last 60 seconds or so of history. If I come out of this screen, I believe, and come into here and go back up again, we'll come out of this menu, it should reset. But anyway, if we come in here, and you can see that it's now showing the last X number of seconds of RF history. Green meaning healthy signal, yellow is like deteriorating signal, and red is really low level signal. We'll also be showing RF overload here too. And actually, on the subject of RF overload, you'll notice there's two LEDs, one here and one here next to antenna B. And this is really useful because it's actually showing the whether your incoming signal is saturating or overloading the antenna front end. Very quick indication. Now, yellow means that it's starting to get close to overloading, a bit like an audio meter really, where it goes yellow before it hits red. You know you're getting close. That will go red when you do actually clip the front end antenna filter. And when it's not showing anything, you know there's no problem. So we have one of those on each antenna, which is really useful. If you run into problems, then you can apply an attenuator or do whatever you need to do to resolve that issue. We also, if I can select any of these receivers and go in there, and I can see a more detailed readout of the RF history. I can see transmitter battery status, record status, and I can adjust frequencies and do my scanning and access menus and do all sorts of things here. So what I want to talk about a little bit now is that we can also not only control and monitor receivers, but now we can control and monitor remote smart antennas. And out of the chute, when we ship the SL2, we will be supporting the Wizicom LFA antenna at first release. And that will allow you to place that antenna remotely, much closer to the action on set, so to reduce the likelihood of dropouts, and control the gain of the antenna, the frequency, the filter on the antenna, and monitor all sorts of status. And of course, we provide the necessary 12-volt bias to power that antenna too. And that's what I'm actually doing right now. You can see there's the antenna down there. And it's, I think this is a fantastic system. It really gives you greater control than you've had before of that. And thanks to Wizicom for making this possible. So, for instance, now I can come into my options menu from here. You can see I have my bias set on. If I'm overloading, I can actually apply, I've got built-in attenuation here on the SL2. So if the signal coming in is too hot, you can easily apply some attenuation there. All right. If I come down to the next section, I've got on the front end, we have antenna filters. It's currently set to wideband, but let's take a look at the other filters of filter bands we have available. 470 to 614, 542 to 694, 606 to 770, and 770 to 960. So that pretty much covers most of these systems out there right now. Okay. And then when you do have a smart antenna connected, you have all of these control menus for setting up the settings on the actual Wizicom LFA antenna itself. All right. So this is obviously still a work in progress, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, but you can see the flexibility there. Okay, let's, what else can we do with this baby? Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about the loop outs if you are feeding external receivers. Basically, essentially, on each side of the unit, there's a little socket which uses an MMCX connector. And then you can take the loop through from our antennas using this loop through cable. And this end here just plugs directly into that hole, and away you go. And then you can connect the SMA. Now, I haven't spoken at all about the mechanics of this thing yet, so I'm going to do this now. This is actually maybe the most cool thing about the SL2. we really have gone to town. Our mechanical engineers have been brilliant in this. They've gone to town on making the ease of installation of the SL2 super easy. In terms of just connecting it to the 833 or the 888, we all know that there's an expansion port on the top there. You literally just press directly on that, and here I'll show you what it looks like essentially. You've got this connector on the underside here, which fixes upon that expansion port, and then you clamp it down, and then there's a bunch of screws which you screw in. So it's really securely mounted and becomes like an all-in-one essentially unit at that point. So once you've made that installation, great. Now, the nice thing about the SL2 is I can, if I'm not using it one day for wireless, I can simply just power down the whole SL2 from an 8 series menu, saving you power. But that means you just don't have to remove the SL2 to save any power. The whole thing will shut down. Not just the receivers, but the actual SL2 circuitry as well. Now, one of the really nice things about our system is it can use the, we actually supply some of these push fit SMA connectors. Because as we know, sometimes these SMA connectors can be a little bit fiddly to screw on, but we actually have these ones that just pull off, simply like that, right? No screwing involved at all. And you just push back on to make connection. And you can do that with any of these SMA connectors. I can do that with my antennas as well, and keeps it really simple to use. They're very secure, these push fit SMAs. Now, the other important thing is if you do need to remove a receiver or insert a receiver, there's no screws holding in each receiver. And there are no spacers required to mount these receivers in here. We can simply slide in and slide out. And there's a mechanism which is designed to handle that really securely. So you simply slide in and out the receiver, and the mechanism holds those receivers securely in place. And there's a lever on the right-hand side, to show you here, which allows you to, I don't know if you can see that, allows you to very quickly press down, and then you can grab a receiver and just pull it out, and likewise just slide in when installing. The nice thing about that is when you fully press down that lever, it will also cut off the power to that receiver, so there's no danger of destroying the electronics in your receiver. So, you know, once you've got this SL2 installed, there's no screwing required. It's all just a slide in, slide out mechanism. It's really fast, and definitely a big improvement over the SL6. So what else should we talk about here? I'm thinking we're sort of getting to the end here, John. So I do want to sort of mention, I guess, the price. Now, the SL2 will be available in June this year, and it will list for $1,740. There will be a number of accessories available, optional accessories. You'll be able to buy the MMCX to SMA cables, which is about 24 inches long. And you'll also be able to buy some BNC to SMA straight adapters. So, yeah, available June, and we're very excited about it. Happy to take some questions.
Paul, that was remarkable. You were just about exactly on the hour. So, very nice work.
I have my time code running to let me know where I was. Okay, let's bring me back down to something. So take some questions here.
Questions. We had numerous questions. It looks like Matt had responded to some, and
Great.
Moderation has also responded to some of those. You know,
Perfect.
Obviously, everybody's looking at what's the next slot receiver. People are asking questions about, you know, is there an SL whatever?
Yeah, well, You know what we're like. We don't talk about things like that. But I mean, let's put it this way. When we conceived the whole 8 series, which was well over 3 years ago now, we were thinking about the entire ecosystem for the next 10, 15 years. What do we need to do? This crystal ball gaze here, let's think about everything that may need to be done. And so we have a plan, a very clear plan and strategy, which will constantly evolve the whole ecosystem. That's what I'm going to say.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We are going to move on to the next presentation here. And so here, let's roll the tape.
Hello, I'm Klaus with Ambient. Welcome to
Hello, this is Jan Zastra from Electrosonics, and I'm glad you are here at Sound Summit 2020. First of all, I hope that you and your families are okay and you can enjoy this event. The second thing is that I would like to thank to everybody who prepared this event. I think it's a perfect way how to be in touch with you and how to show you our new products. Before I show you our new product, I will tell you something about our older product. And it's a Sharky. The Sharky is a wideband active antenna with variable gain. It's perfect for using with a sound card, but when you would like to put it, for example, on a bag, it's getting to be a little bit too big and too heavy. This is the reason we developed the bow tie. The bow tie is a very compact small wideband antenna which was developed mainly for using on a sound bag. Of course, you can use it differently. You could mount it somewhere at location, you can put it on a car, it's up to you. The usage can be the same like with the classic dipole. When I said it's wideband, that means that it can receive all signals between 470 MHz and 700 MHz. There's also inbuilt low-pass filter which cut off everything above the 700 MHz. When you are using the wideband receivers in your bag, you need a wideband antenna. I will tell you why. When you are using classic whips in your bag, you need to take care about the frequency you are using and the length of the whips. Simply said, the whips needs to be tuned to frequency you are using. When you are using bow tie, you don't need to take care about that because the bow tie will receive every frequency of your wireless and receive it very well. Important is to say that the bow tie is a passive antenna. You don't need an active antenna when using it on a bag. You have a short cables, you don't need to compensate losses of the cable. Its directivity is omnidirectional. The polarization of the bow tie is linear. In this position, it's vertically polarized, horizontally polarized, and its gain is about 2 dB, so similar like dipole. The main benefit of the bow tie is that it's made from glass laminate and aluminium using CNC milling, and lately our in-house technologies for precise CNC sealing, which ensures IP65 rating, and for example laser engraving for marking the antenna with logo and serial number. The bow tie is delivered with the holder. We call it the back antenna holder, and you can buy it also separately like a product. And it's compatible also with a Sharky, so you can use the Sharky on the back as well if you want to. This holder can be, as I said, mounted to any bag on the market, ideally with a frame like this K-Tex Stingray. So you can mount it there, and you can fix it in any position you want to. And after you end the work, you just flip the antenna like this, and you can go. The holder is also important in the separation of the antenna and the back. So when you are touching the recorder, you are not so close to the antenna, and you don't affect its parameters. In comparison with the whips, they are here, for example, you are close to them and you can affect its parameters, and it can cause dropouts in the sound. Well, I think that's all. Maybe I could tell you what is included in the price once again. In the price of the bow tie is included the bow tie, of course, 2 cables, BNC to BNC and BNC to SMA. They are short, they are exactly matched to the back usage. And of course also holder, as I showed you before. The price of the bow tie is 169 USD and 159 euro. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you like this video, and if you have some question or questions, feel free to ask. Thank you and bye bye.
All right, we've got Jan here. Let me just make sure we get the audio here. So just give me a moment to get the stream audio. Now we've got your audio sent, so we can... Gotcha. So thank you for your presentation. Sorry about the schedule change. That was a master control error on my part here. I apologize. So we'll have a Bubblebee video following this, but thanks for accommodating here. So what, maybe give me a little summary how things are going, and maybe a little status of what's happening in, in your world in terms of this current environment.
In Czech Republic, we are fine. We are working normally. Just we are trying to do our best to take about our employees, to take care about them. So, but it's fine here, I think. I can read the question here in the stream.
Let's see. Do you have an option for longer cables delivered with the antenna? 1 meter, 3 meters, etc.
We measured the cables to be exactly fine for using with, for example, SL6 from the sound devices when using it on a back. So it's measured and it's fine this time. And if customer needs longer, I think it can made in every country like a custom cable. So, but in the package is just one link.
Gotcha.
And it's about 32 centimeters or 33. It's exactly matched.
Retail pricing and holders separately, things like that.
The retail pricing for the antenna is 169 USD and 159 euro, and the holder is 42 USD and a little bit, I think, 39 euro.
And then any questions in terms of the the antenna being used as an IFB transmit antenna instead of just a receive antenna?
Yes, it can be also used as for transmitting of the RF because it's a passive antenna. There is no amplifier inside, so it's just a passive antenna with filtering. So you can use it, of course, also for the transmitting of the RF.
Gotcha. All right, excellent. Well, let's see. That's any plans for a bow tie model above 700 megahertz?
Not now, but it's possible to make it. But because in the US, I think we are going to go under 600, or maybe you are now. So for US, it's okay. For Europe, I think as well, because above 700, it's going to be illegal to use it very soon. So I think maybe for uh, Japan, but I'm not sure. Maybe yes, they ask us for somewhere higher frequencies.
Gotcha.
We are preparing some ideas.
All right. Well, thank you, Jan. We will roll into the next presentation, which we've got, which is
Thank you very
the
much.
originally scheduled Bubblebee. Jan, thank you very much. And let's
Thank you very much.
get to the next presentation.
Hello, this is Jan.
Hi, it's Caleb from Bubblebee Industries, and in this video I'd like to talk a bit about wind protection, and in particular the difference between wind and sound, and how that affects the tools that you use out in the field. We know sound is the vibration of air molecules at a specific frequency or frequencies. And if you look at the definition of wind, it's the movement of air molecules, those same air molecules, from point A to point B. The sound energy doesn't require that the molecules are moving. They vibrate in their space. And in wind energy, where the molecules are moving, it is also possible for sound to be transmitted. And that means that the molecules are vibrating as well, while moving as a group from point A to point B. A nice way to think about it is if you threw a pebble into a lake, there would be ripples forming around the point where that pebble entered the water. But they would be still, the point would be still in space. And if you threw that same pebble into a moving river, there would be ripples forming around where that pebble entered the water, but that point would be moving. So how do we protect our mics from wind in the field? And it's very important to understand, first and foremost, the type of microphone you're using plays a big role in that. If you're using an omnidirectional microphone, like a lavalier mic, they are generally a little more resilient against wind because the diaphragm is actually a thicker material than that of their directional microphone counterparts. In a directional mic, and I've got one here, I've got the Sennheiser 416. Take the wind killer off. In a directional mic, the directionality is achieved by having air gaps in front of and behind the diaphragm. And it's an open system then. And what the diaphragm does is it measures the difference between the sound energy entering the front through the interference tube and the back through the air vents behind it. And it measures the phase difference, and the difference between the sound energy coming in the back and in the front is often, because you're subtracting one from the other, it's smaller. So it's quite a soft material, very susceptible to handling noise, and very susceptible to wind energy potentially overloading the diaphragm. And conversely, the omnidirectional mic is a sealed unit, the diaphragm, so it contains pressure inside the capsule and the backplate, and it measures the pressure all around the mic, causing those two objects to interact and create voltage differences. So yeah, let's talk about how then to protect the shotgun microphone, because that's very important. And we've got some products to do that. We've got the Wind Killer range and the Spacer Bubble or Spacer Kit range. And they're both designed with these things in mind. So the ideal wind protection for a shotgun mic is something that buffers the wind but allows the sound energy to transmit through. And bearing in mind that wind makes a noise when it hits a surface, any flat surface, and the harder the surface, the more friction noise there will be, probably. We also decided to make our products with a multi-pile fur, and it's got 3 different lengths of fur. So down near where the fur is connected to the foam, it's very short fur and very densely packed, and then it becomes less dense and longer away from it. And then on the inside we use an acoustical foam. It's a very open foam. It holds pockets of air in the foam, and that is to keep a neutral space around the microphone in order to keep the frequency response as natural as possible. So yeah, the wind killer is a one-piece unit with this acoustically transparent foam on the inside and the fur attached to it, covering it on the outside. So the fur slows down the wind from the outside coming in, and then the foam holds a natural space of air which is still around the microphone capsule. And then we've got a rubber base on all of them, and that seals off the interference tube. It's designed to seal off the active part of the microphone from any wind buffeting and stuff like that. So if you put this on with the rubber base, the entry hole, right over the diaphragm, and you don't properly cover the air gaps potentially behind it, different microphones look a bit different. I think the Schupp's variations and the DPA variations and Sennheiser variations have a slightly different look where the diaphragm is, but you should learn where that is and how to cover those vents behind it as well. And then slide the wind killer all the way over those vents, and then make sure that it's not too bunched up, so that the end of the interference tube is bunched or pushed into the foam to get the best result. So the wind killer comes in 2 different styles and 5 different sizes, and we also have 2 different base sizes, so entry holes on the back. So we have a short fur version, which is this, and we have one with long fur, which I'll show you as well. And the long fur is the standard one, so when you buy a wind killer, you get the long fur wind killer, and then the long fur, which is this kind of length, and then that's the short fur, and that's bonded there. So and 5 different sizes, so they cover up to, well, we've counted over 50 popular shotgun mics on the market. And yeah, the short fur is really useful if you're working more indoors or in light winds, where you're not going into heavy winds. And it looks neater as well. If you were to mount it on a camera, it makes sure that you're not going to have any fur extending into the camera frame as well. And it's really good at protecting against boom swinging noises. So if I was to remove it, and so that's the Sennheiser 416, and if you swing the boom, you pick up swish noises where the wind is affecting the diaphragm. So if I put the wind killer back on, and we do the same thing, there you can hear that really protects it from the wind. And that's what it sounds like with a wind killer on. And yeah, what you need to remember about wind protection like this is anything you put over the diaphragm of the mic is going to change the frequency response of the mic. Any objects you put over it, doesn't matter whether it's a blimp or a slip-on wind protective cover like this. The upper frequencies from from about 6K and up do tend to take a little hit but it's a compromise because you need to find the right balance between wind protection and transparency. And that's also a reason why we have two fur lengths on the wind killer. So you can choose whether you want more transparency and a lighter fur, or thicker fur, longer fur, and more wind protection. So in that vein, we also created a new product called the Spacer Kit, or the Spacer Bubble. And that's, in essence, a modular solution. So that offers you the option. So you have one system or one unit, and it's modular. It offers you the option to choose how much wind protection and how much of a transparent sound you'd like for your mic. So it comes with two parts. The Spacer Bubble comes with a spacer base, which is constructed with the same rubber base, which takes the microphone and seals it off. Inside the acoustically transparent foam with this spacer mesh on the outside, which is acoustically tested as well. It's pretty transparent, and then it's got a leather band around the top to hold it together. And that fits the microphone very snugly, covers up the microphone and holds it in a sealed off space that allows the sound through, and that by itself would be used indoors. It protects against boom swinging. This spacer mesh on the outside is an extra addition. On the wind killer, you only have the foam on the inside, and the fur is bonded directly to that. So this actually adds an extra layer, having the mesh on the outside and this transparent material here to which the fur is bonded. You can actually see the fur through it. But we thought about our materials very meticulously for these products. And how it works is when this is on, this is perfect for internal use. So if you're using, and again, it comes in 5 different sizes, lengths. So this one would be okay for I think the DPA 4018C or mics of that kind of form. And then with the large base, the mount at the back, you can use it for the Sennheiser MKH 40 or 50. And yeah, that's very transparent. We did a video in the desert testing the transparency. I'll show you just a few seconds of that now.
And then we can hear how the bass sounds like. It sounds crispy and clear, and it's kind of like not having anything on.
So you can see and hear the transparency of the bass by itself there. And you can watch that video in full on our YouTube channel, so check it out after this. If you were to be on, if you were on a production that moved from one space into another, and there were different environmental factors, you can very quickly with the Spacer Bubble add fur or remove fur, depending on whether you're moving from indoors to outdoors or the opposite. And to add the fur is, again, it's the multi-pile fur, and the Spacer Bubble comes with the short fur cover, and that fits over the spacer base. And then there's a little draw tag. You pull it all the way over. It's also got a leather band at the bottom. So it's very high spec materials, and you tighten the draw tag. And then normally if this is on a boom, I would say you would put the elastic over one of the suspension knobs just to keep it out the way and stop it from flapping around. And that then effectively will handle medium and light winds very effectively, and still retain a lot of the transparency of your microphone. If you were to go into an environment with higher winds, I would suggest getting the Spacer Kit, or if you have the Spacer Bubble already, you can buy the long fur cover as an additional accessory. And that fur is much longer. You can see it's got an extra pile of very long fur in there, and that is very wind protective. So you slip off the short fur cover, and the long fur cover just slips over. It's much easier when the mic's in the bass and this is on a boom. And then again you tighten the tab and control it, and that is the spacer bubble with the long fur cover, and that is very good. We tested that in the Grand Canyon with wind speeds of up to 24, 25 miles an hour, and it functions incredibly well. We are confident that this is up to 80%, 90% as effective as using a bigger blimp for 80% of the situations you'll be in regularly. This will be absolutely fine. The benefit, I suppose, is that you can change between, you can change your transparency basically by simply removing the fur when you go indoors. And then you're actually back to getting all the good frequencies that your microphone naturally picks up. Because the natural frequency response of the mic is what you pay for. And it's a lot of money, a big investment, a microphone, a good microphone. So you generally want to be able to use what the microphone has to offer. And that's why we created the spacer bubble. So there you go. That's our take on the slip-on wind protection products. And yeah, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. We'll be on, and catch us on social media. Also check out our website. All the information's there. It's bubblebeeindustries.com. And also check out our YouTube channel, because we have plenty of demos and instructional videos and help videos and plenty of stuff, anecdotal stuff. It's youtube.com/bubblebeeindustries. It's great to be at the Sound Summit, and thanks for your time. Have a windy day.
And we are very pleased to have Caleb with us live. Just give me a moment to select his audio so you can all hear him. So Caleb, thanks for joining us live here at the Sound Summit 2020. And where are you coming from? Where are you actually sitting right now?
I live in Vienna in Austria, so I'm sitting at home.
Gotcha.
Sun's going down on this side of the world. It was a lovely sunny day today, but we've passed that over to you guys, I hear. So.
Gotcha. We've got, let's see, any questions from folks who've been viewing this that you want to address?
Yeah, sure. First off, I'd like to say thanks for everyone for watching. And of course, thanks to Sound Devices and you, John, for putting this on and organizing it. It's really fun, really great. Yeah, thanks, Francesco and Miroslav. And I can see there's a question from... well, sorry, excuse me. It's a little difficult scrolling through these.
They're coming in with comments and questions kind of mixed all together.
Yeah, there was, I think there was one from Audio Nerds _CH, and they asked if there's any transparency benefit or negative side to using our spacer kit. I estimate with fur, whoops, in comparison to the one-piece wind killer. And yeah, there is a slight difference. Sorry about that. The difference is that this mesh material on the outside of the spacer bubble base and this inside material are extra on the spacer kit. And that means that the spacer kit, when compared with the wind killer, where the fur is bonded to the foam, which is an acoustical open foam on the inside directly, has an extra surface to buffer against the wind, and that makes it, when you use the long fur with a spacer base, it makes it really quite resilient against wind. The wind killer, probably a little less so. I would estimate, 5 to 10% difference in performance in the wind. But to that end, with the wind killer, some people have noticed or mentioned that it is very transparent with the long fur. Slightly more so than the spacer kit, but then it's that compromise of whether you need the wind protection or the one-piece unit.
Do you have a extra small handy to show? Any
yeah, sure. So that's the extra small. I don't know how to measure that other than my hand. I've got a Wizicom receiver, the ENG52 over here. You can see that next to that. So if that gives you some idea of the size and then the diameter.
Excellent.
That's probably
Thank you
available on
very
our
much,
website.
Caleb. We've got looking at the schedule here. We've got a couple more presentations from
Yeah,
you tomorrow. So looking forward to seeing those, and looking forward to seeing you again.
cool.
And
See you around.
we're going to get to our next presentation from Viviana. So here, hopefully I can roll the correct tape on this one here.
Hi guys, I'm going to introduce you the Viviana Beetle, a new concept of low-profile concealer, versatile and easy to use. Made of a unique plastic injection molded to guarantee the best quality and strength, is not only a concealer, but it's a core of a modular concept. The Viviana Beetle can be paired with all the Beetle's accessories like our bra clip and vampire to guarantee the maximum versatility in just one click. Moreover, as you can see from our next Beetle prototype for Love DPA 6060, all the Beetle's accessories are compatible with all the Beetle's concealer. Be versatile and ready for any situation. Sounds great with Beetles. That's it, follow us. Hi guys, I just want to show you how it's easy to use the Viviana Beetle. Take your Love, put the cable inside it, and then you have just to push the Love inside the Beetle like this. If you want to remove the Love from the Beetle, you have just to push the Love from the back. Thanks to the Viviana hypoallergenic stickers, you can stick the Viviana Beetle on fabrics and also on the skin. And you can use the Viviana Beetle also with the Viviana Straps Chest Extreme. It's easy, sounds great with Beetles. That's it, follow us. Hi guys, in this quick video I just want to show you how are easy to use the Viviana Beetle's accessories. If you have to use the Viviana bra clip accessory, you have just to take the Viviana Beetle, put it inside the Viviana bra clip and push it. You will be ready in just one click. The bra clip is unbreakable and the Love will stay always in place. If you have to remove the Viviana bra clip from the Viviana Beetle, you have just to push it out like this. As you can see from our Viviana Beetle prototype for Love DPA 6060, you will be able to use all the Viviana Beetle's accessories with all the Viviana Beetle's concealers. It's easy, sounds great with Beetles. That's it, follow us.
All right, we've got Daniel Turi with us. Let me again get our audio set up correctly. I got to get into the Zoom meeting and change sources. It's a little cumbersome and inconvenient, but it's what we've got to do. So welcome, glad you can join us here. And you guys are literally in kind of the hottest part in terms of the trouble.
We are in the middle of the hotspot in Italy, but also the cases are lowering, so we are seeing the exit, hopefully.
Excellent.
Yeah. So first of all, I would like to thank you, to thank Sound Devices to make this Sound Summit 2020 happens, and also to thank John because he's doing a great job behind the scene, really.
Well, I'm doing a little bit of technical direction and a variety of things back here to get this going. But I think what we're seeing is that this is early days. This is the first time we're ever doing this, and if we can figure this out and make a way to present products in a clear method for our customers, I think they can appreciate that and give them a little taste of what they would get at a trade show. And there's obviously so many companies and that are relevant to see, and we only had so many resources to do what we did, and it's nice to have some friends along with us here and And talking about gear, because that's what we ultimately like to do.
Yeah, of course. It's a good way to think to something else in this moment.
Yep.
So I really would like to introduce our new products of the Viviana brand. And the first one that I want to introduce is this one. That it's the Viviana Beetle. And the Viviana Beetle, it's a low profile concealer made of a unique plastic injection molded to guarantee the best quality and strength. But not only, it is a core of a modular concept, why available alongside there are compatible Beetles accessory, like our bra clip and also the Vampire that right now is still in production. So you will be versatile and ready for any situation. And I'm going to show you.
You're back. Yep.
This is this is the Beetle. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
And I just want to show you how it's easy to use. You have just to put your cable inside, and then you have to push the love inside it, and it's done. And
nice.
Also, if you want to stick it on skin or a fabric, you can use our stickers for Beetle, this one. And as you can see, it's going to be very easy to stick on the skin, very safe too. And also, you can easily remove the tape without leaving any residue. That it's very important. But the most important thing I think that about this Viviana Beetle is the modular concept. This is the Vampire one. And then we are going to make also the bra clip. And I'm going to show you how it's easy to use. You have just to put the Beetle inside the bra clip and then push it. And you will be ready in just one click. The bra clip, as you can see, it's unbreakable. And the lab will stay always in place.
A couple questions. For instance, do you have a Beetle for the 4060, for the B6?
So right now we are just making the one for the COS 11, but we are planning to do more, of course, in the next months.
It's interesting what we're seeing. A lot of these, lav accessories end up being, kind of what consumables used to be. Consumables used to be tape and batteries and things like that, and now that users are going rechargeable batteries and there's really no tape, and maybe there's still cards and such, but there's so much focus on the lav and mounting. That's a very big, very important part of any production these days.
Yeah, and also I think that one of the great features that has got the Viviana Beetle is that all the accessories are compatible with all the Beetle's concealer. For example, as you can see, I'm going to remove the bra clip. And this is the prototype of our next concealer that is going to be the DPA 6060. And as you can see, in just one click, you can use it with the love of the DPA 6060. So it's going to be modular, and you are going to be ready for any situation. The next, if there are not any questions, can go ahead with the...
All right. Well, thank you very much. Okay. That was excellent, and thanks for joining us.
No, I just want to share other products.
Oh, yeah, please.
Yeah. So the next one is going to be the Viviana Pad, that it's a multi-purpose soft foam with a medical tape on one side that help you to fix rustling noise or to find quick solution when you have to mic up. So as you can see, you can use the Viviana pad as a concealer, and it works with all the lavs that are available in the market. You can use it as a foamy, and it's going to be the most low profile foamy that there is on the market, and you can use with all the lavs. And you can use it also as a sandwich, and you can decide the size of the sandwich, just cutting it, and it is ready to be sticked. Or if you want, you can use it to create more room between the lav and the fabric too. So this is the foamy, as you can see.
Yep. Now, are
And,
there any plans for any clear beetles? Question from Mark Ilano.
Clear beetles in clear? Why not? We'll see. And then this is the pad. As you can see, it's very easy to use. You have just to unpeel this side, and here there is the hypoallergenic tape, and the tape is very strong. This is my phone. See? This is the tape. And if you remove it, there won't be any residue on it. That is very important. I work a lot on sets, and I always think that it's always grateful or amazing to have accessories that are ready that are plug and play, that can help you to fix problem in just 1 second. So this is one of the main purpose to have the Viviana pad, because you can use it in many ways. Fixing rustling noise, you can use it to stop necklace noise, many things, really. And then
questions in terms of price point. Any information on pricing?
It depends on which country. Our main distributor in US is Reading Audio, so you can write to him, or you can just check on the website of the local store.
Excellent.
Another products that I would like to introduce you is the Viviana hook. That it's made of aluminum. It's very light, just 2.9 grams. It's very small, just 8 centimeters, and it can load 35 kilograms. And it has been designed to let you pick up and drop off your sound bag easily and faster. So I'm going to show you. This is the Viviana hook. And it's unique because it has got a removable pin on the back, as you can see. That will help you to set up very easily into your harness, like this. Just one recommendation, please use the screwdriver to tighten this green nut. You have to use the screwdriver. So we are making also other products that are this. This is the Viviana tape. It's going to be a little bag with 60 strips of clear and hypoallergenic double-sided tape. And it's the same tape that there is on the pad, and it's the same tape of the Viviana stickers for Beetles. It's hypoallergenic, so you can use it on the skin and also on fabric. And then I don't want to miss our unique product that are the Viviana Straps Extreme, the unique straps in the world that has got a breathable grip. That, of course, if you want, you can wash at 60 degrees too. without have any problem.
Thank you very much. Anything else, or is that you're all set?
Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.
We've got 5 minutes till our next presentation, but what we're going to do is we're going to just compress the schedule a little, and we will roll the next presentation, which is somebody that will be familiar to you, talking about our MixPre-II and 32-bit float. Hi, John from Sound Devices, and today we're going to talk about the MixPre Series 2 and 32-bit float audio. The MixPre Series 2 is the latest versions of the MixPre. The very first ones came out in 1999, and it was a little 2-channel analog mixer, and it was a very popular unit for ENG and corporate video, and a very small little accessory mixer. It was very handy. We revised that to the MixPre-D, which offered AES digital out. It also had USB audio I/O. And then in 2018, we introduced the MixPre-III, 6, and 10T. And they look identical physically to this. And last year, we revised those into new models, the MixPre Series 2, again, models 3, 6, and 10. The difference between the original MixPre-III, 6, and 10T and the present models, all models in the Series 2 have timecode generators. They all can record to SD cards and record a post-record copy to a USB memory stick. And they also share a new hardware topology with multi-stage A to D converters. That allows us to record 32-bit float audio files. It also allows us to send 32-bit float over USB. So let's talk a little bit about 32-bit float. We're all familiar with 24-bit audio. That's the standard. That's what you are recording for your dialogue. That's what you're delivering to post. And that's what everybody's expectation is. 24-bit audio is a very big file. It's got 144 dB of dynamic range. When we take a microphone signal into a mixer and we're in a 24-bit environment, we set our gain structure. We set the gain structure so that we've got sufficient level before 0 dBFS so we don't overload. We also don't want the signal too low because we may run into the noise floor, and then further down we might run into quantization noise in a 24-bit environment. So 24-bit has its benefits. Again, it's a high dynamic range signal, but if we're in an environment with wildly uncontrolled signal levels from microphone sources, 32-bit float is an advantage. 32-bit float has been used as the internal file format for DAWs for several years. We presented this out at the preamplifier stage in the MixPre Series 2. So what that means is the MixPre Series 2 hardware has multiple analog to digital converters. There's multiple analog gain stages feeding those A to D converters. That signal from the microphone goes into those multiple converters and then is constructed into a 32-bit float signal. Once it's a 32-bit float signal, we can record it as a 32-bit float file, and we can also send it over USB in a Mac OS and a Windows environment to DAWs that can accept 32-bit float. Now, 144 dB dynamic range with 24-bit, 1500 plus dB of dynamic range in 32-bit float. Again, in 24-bit, we want to set a good gain structure. That's important for us. In 32-bit float, there's really no need to set a gain structure. Gain is invariant. With a microphone signal coming into the mixer, if I have that gain at a very high level, it's really only a construct that makes more sense in a 24-bit environment versus the 32-bit float environment. Because I can come in with a gain at nearly any level because I can make that gain decision after the fact. I can scale the gain over such a wide range in a 32-bit float environment that I can make those gain decisions after recording. So if you are doing sound effects recording with incredibly low-level signals or incredibly high-level signals, or both, you have the ability to simply connect the microphone into the unit and not be concerned with what the specific gain level is, because you can make those decisions later. Let's do an example here. So this is a Royer 121 plugged into here, and I'm going to set the gain where I would typically have it for a speech level at this subject to microphone distance. So now you've got meters deflecting, and you've got a good level. I'm not going into the red. I'm not hitting a limiter. So this is a good, nice signal level. And I've recorded the signal. We're going to play this back, and you're going to be able to hear it. Now I'm going to go back into here, and I'm going to set the gain low. So now at the microphone preamplifier, we're showing 6 dB of gain applied. I'm going to start recording. What you see is we're not even hitting the minus 50 dBFS on the meter here, which is incredibly low. So this is undermodulated by 50 plus dB. I need to have much more gain because this is a low output ribbon microphone. But what we're going to do is we're going to play this signal back, and we're going to listen to its noise floor and its performance relative to that other microphone recording, which had the gain at a more normal level. So what you heard was that the signal that was originally recorded at the normal level, and then the second recording, which was the signal recorded at 50 dB below that, there is no performance difference between those when the gains are normalized. This is a significant benefit if you are in an application. Again, sound effects recording, environments where you have unpredictable sounds. The downside of 32-bit float is that you will need to post-process this audio if you're working this file back into a 24-bit environment. Because an overmodulated signal in a 32-bit float environment very well may overmodulate in 24-bit, although it'll be just fine in 32-bit. Or undermodulated in 32-bit is going to be too low in a 24-bit environment, and you're going to get into noise issues. So the 32-bit float environment is not for every application, but it's a great tool to have in your arsenal when you have situations that require it. Thank you very much. All right, this is John here, and you just saw a presentation on the MixPre and 32-bit float. So there's a few questions that have been in the stream here in terms of 32-bit and whether that's going to show up in the 8 series. And 32-bit is, the hardware is really the difference. The preamplifiers, the A to D topology, those need to be able to accommodate that. Fortunately, the 8 series topology, that was something that when those were designed, there is hardware on board that is available to do future tools. So we don't have any specific news right now, but the 8 series has very deep hardware that is very capable for future applications. I would say the 32-bit is really something that will change when we're talking about recording ISO tracks. The reason we record ISO tracks is so that we can do a post-record mix on those tracks. With 32-bit, you've got this tremendous dynamic range capability. And again, the real benefit is the ability to record your, do a post-gain, post-record gain control of it. So it's a very, very powerful tool, and it's something that I think we're going to start seeing in many different product categories. DAWs are more and more accepting of this. The editing tools that people are using, they're becoming conscious and they know about this environment. So this is becoming something that is becoming its own thing. So now with that, let's move into our next presentation, which is going to be from Sonosax. So we're going to be moving up the schedule a little bit here and just continuing with the presentations as they're listed in the schedule on the soundsummit.org page.
Hello, we are today the April 9, 2020. We are on the middle of this famous crisis, coronavirus, like almost all the planets. we are here on the court of the house where we work. This house is dated 1814, and we use the central part of our lab for development, design, and part of the production of our machines. It's a part of the Sonosax Museum, starting with SXB mixer. It was designed for clubs. At this time, clubs were very famous, and I was a customer of many clubs. It's a 5 stereo inputs and 2 microphones inputs. After this, we start to design the famous Sonosax SXS, and this particular product makes us really famous all around the world, especially for movie productions, including Jean-Luc Godard, including Stanley Kubrick, Steven Spielberg, and many productions. This was available in 6 channel, 8 channel, and 10 channel. This is actually a 10 channel. After this, I've designed the ENG mixer, modular with 2, 4, and 6 channels. After this, we have a famous history with the Stelladat. We buy the asset of Stellavox, and we was able to finish the Stelladat. But the development takes so much time, and when we was ready, the market was already going down, and we don't sell enough of this fantastic machine to pay the development cost. Here's another ENG mixer we do after. It's a very strong one, and we sell this mainly to TV station and radio station. It was also semi-modular system, can include equalizer, AD converter, and even a transmitter inside. Okay, this is a part of the old stuff. Then have a look on the actual stuff. Follow me.
Hey, welcome here to Sonosax R&D department. This is part of our lab here. This is where we bake and cook our devices. I will show you later this small one, SX-M2D2. But first, Jacques, tell us what were the steps that led to that final device here?
Okay, first of all, I've designed a box like this with 2 microphone amplifier inside, 1 screen to adjust for the levels and 2 push buttons for monitoring, etc. And on the back, the connectors, all the connectors. Then showing this, many customers ask us to have a different orientation, and they ask to have the button here, the screen here, and the connectors on the back here to feed this to a sound bag. Then I redesigned completely the mechanic, and this is a 3D print of the prototype, and this is oriented with the screen, the knobs, and the connectors on the opposite side. Then all of this is powered with battery.
So what can we do with this particular device? This M2D2, as I said, is mainly a USB sound card and a preamp. There are 2 analog inputs, 1 AES input, 1 analog output and 1 AES output, and of course USB. What can I do with USB on such a small device? The first idea is to connect this device on a cell phone. This will allow journalists or people recording wild tracks, musicians, any kind of people to record very high quality on their cell phone. Of course, in this case, the sound of the cell phone is not involved, either the microphone, either the audio part. This is only the microphone we choose to use here, this very good one here, and the audio part of our small preamps here, M2D2. So this allows us to record, as you can see here, our audio directly on the cell phone. In this particular example, we record on one channel a normal straight signal from the microphone, and on the second channel a signal that is being controlled by the internal compressor limiter of the M2D2. This allows us to have a safety track that's limited, and if we have no level problem, we can use then the full track that has been recorded normally. This is a mono microphone and a mono recording, but we could also do a stereo recording with that device. We just have to plug that which we have here, which is a stereo pair, this very good stereo pair here. This would allow us to record, for example, on our cell phone, musicians, a choir, an orchestra, or a wild track for filmmaking people.
Maybe the look inside what we have. This is the analog board. All of this, it's the mic amplifier and the AD converter. Also this side, as you can see, it's very complex. But this can achieve a very high dynamic range of 135 dB. And also have a fantastic sound like all the Sonosax product. And this is going in the box like this. On the middle we can find the battery, and then is the second board including the display and all the digital stuff. And it's two USB-C, one for DC to power and charge the device, and the second one is for the audio. And then this is going like this. As you can see, it's a very small box, but it's a very, very busy technology.
Also, what is possible is to use these kind of microphones. This is the very famous one, very famous Shop's Kmit microphone. And this one is a digital microphone according to AES 42 standard. This M2D2 support AES 42 standard, so it is possible to connect this microphone, and it is even possible to mix the sound from this microphone with the stereo pair or with another microphone here in the small mixer which we have here, and to have all these audio feeds mixed together and recording onto a cell phone. In this configuration, we use the M2D2 in conjunction with a DSLR. We have here a directional microphone and here a timecode generator. Both will go through the M2D2 and will feed the audio channels of a DSLR via this mini jack.
As you know, maybe a lot of customers doing DSLR or camera, they want to have special attachment for this device to the camera. Then we found out a simple way. We designed this cage, and you can put the M2D2 inside. And you have here the protection for the connector. You can still open the battery. And you have the T-slot when you can fix as you want on your other equipment. You can find the file to print this on our internet website. It's free of charge, and you can adapt as you want, if you want to cut or if you want to have a different color, or blue or red, as you want.
All right, we are very pleased to be joined with Jacques and Fabrice here from
Switzerland.
Now we got your audio, so got to
Yeah.
make sure we hook you back in. So you're able to be heard by the stream.
Fine.
So we've got a little time difference here. It's 1 o'clock Central Time in the States, and you're Central European, correct?
It's 8 p.m. Here in Switzerland.
And I still see it's quite light out.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it is.
it's already apéro is done. First apéro. Okay.
Looks like there were a few comments. Customers were very interested to see the interconnection of the product over the phone. I think that's compelling for a lot of portable production. We're seeing, certainly in this environment, a lot of customers are looking for those kinds of tools where they want to be as mobile and as portable as possible.
Yeah, certainly.
From my own personal history, the first time I came across a Sonosax product was in the early 90s when I was working at Shure. And Shure had numerous field production mixers. And, we saw this beautiful product coming from Switzerland. And, it was just a whole different thing. It was so beautiful. And, so we've always had a great appreciation for the Sonosax gear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have the second presentation. Do you want to give a little introduction on what we're going to see in this next presentation?
Maybe just let me come to two questions that I saw on the chat during the first presentation. First question was, is it possible to record audio while shooting a video with a smartphone? The answer is, well, you have to test. We don't want to give apps names. It is possible with some apps, but really you have to test that first. So shoot with a smartphone and record audio with a M2D2 directly on the smartphone. This must be tested first. It works with certain apps. It doesn't work with other apps. And another question was, does it work on any smartphone? Answer is yes. Well, at least it does work on Android smartphone and on iPhones.
With USB-C.
With USB-C, exactly.
Yeah.
And used on iPhones, you have to use this small accessory, which is iPhone camera adapter, that allows connection between the Lightning connector on the iPhone and the USB normal connection. So these were two questions that I saw on the chat while we were presenting the first video.
All right. Well, let's get to the next video. And do you want to introduce it for us?
So the next video is about the Plus series. Plus series is a series that has been built around SX-R4 Plus, which is a 16-track portable recorder. And then we built a lot of accessories around this series, and that allows to use it from bag to cart for smaller productions to larger feature films. So it's something very adaptive and very straightforward to use, as you will see now in that video.
Excellent. And let's, as they say, roll the tape.
Hey, and welcome back to the Sonosax lab here. Now we're going to talk about the Plus series. The Plus series is an ecosystem of devices that has been built around this recorder, SX-R4 Plus. Jacques Sachs, can you tell us about the process that led to the construction of this recorder?
Yeah, well, the idea was to have a very compact, lightweight device to record 16 track, and this is only 1 kilo and is very compact, and we designed this as a battery operated system This is the power supply. There is the battery. And this is the DC-DC converter to make all the power used inside the R4 Plus. It also includes a way to power some other equipment from the R4 Plus. And we use the famous Ursa for 12 volt DC.
Thank you, Jacques. Let's have a look more in depth about the inputs and outputs of this device. Here we have 4 universal inputs. Why are they universal? Because you may connect and choose by menu any kind of device here, either analog or digital. You may even connect AES42 microphones on this XLR here. Then we have 2 analog line inputs, balanced, and an unbalanced stereo line output here. On this side, we have an AES input multi-pin connector. We will come back to this one later. And an AES input or output you choose. It is configurable via the touchscreen menu. Finally, here we have, as you can see, an empty place for an option board. Jacques, can you tell us a bit more about this option board?
Yes, the first option board we have designed is this one with a 5-pole XLR, and this can be configured again with the menu on the touchscreen in 4 IS output, 2 balanced analog output, or 4 analog unbalanced output. After this, we make another option board. Is a famous Dante board, and as you can see, we have redesigned our own board to have a very low power. And with this board, we can have 16 channels in and 16 channels out.
Thank you, Jacques. So let's get back to this connector. I told you before, this connector here is the heart of the Plus series, because this connector allows to connect all the accessories which we have here. The simplest way of using this connector would be to use this cable here to connect this here and to have 4 AES inputs available here.
This connector is also compatible with the previous recorder we make, like the Mini and the R4.
So this is the first way of using this connector. But then we designed this accessory here, RC8 Plus. This accessory uses the same connectors and allows to use the same 4 AES inputs here. It also allows to power here 4 wireless receivers via these 4 high-Rose connectors. Jacques, tell us why this particular design here?
The idea is if the sound engineer has this on the bag, he wants to maybe look what happened on the set, and he can very easy to feel if it's acting on the channel 1 or the channel 2 or anyone.
But what if I wanted to have more input channels, more microphones? Well, we developed here at Sonosax this device here, AD8 Plus, so an analog to digital 8-channel converter. This converter also connects to R4 Plus via this accessory cable, and this allows us to have 12 microphone input channels. Jacques, tell us what's so special with this preamplifier.
Okay, this is inside the AD8. You have one board here with analog microphone amplifier, and this is the AD converter. Same in mirror for the channels 5 to 8. And to have a best top quality and sound. We have many tricks because we designed a mic amplifier for now close to 40 years. And we use selected components, and also the AD converter. It's a special design, and we achieve 138 dB dynamic range. This board, including the 4 mic amp and the converter, it's exactly the same as we have on the R4 Plus.
So together, these two devices allow us to have 12 microphone inputs on a very small form factor and a fully portable device. So step by step, we have discovered the full Plus series. There's one more accessory that I'd like to show you. It's this one, LC8 for Linear Control 8. Jacques, tell us what made you decide to create this linear fader interface?
With this fantastic setup on the RC8, it's possible to control all the channels, but it's not possible to act like this, like a real mixing board. Then with the LC8, we can play as we want. We can also attach two together. Then we can control the 16 channel of the recorder. With the complete system, you can imagine only R4 Plus for documentary movies or ambient recording. With the AD8, it can be for classical music. And with all this setup, it can be for feature film. It's many possibilities around the R4 Plus series. And all of this with the top quality as Sonosax made for decades now.
Thank you, Jacques.
Thank you, Fabrice.
And now I'm going to show you a special use of AD8 Plus. AD8 Plus as a standalone unit. Jacques, can you explain us why did you decide to create this standalone unit?
The AD8 Plus includes 8 super microphone amplifier and the famous AD converter with 138 dB dynamic range. And it can be used as standalone, just like with this connector on the four connectors to go to any IS device. Other ways we can include on the AD8 the AVB card, and with this one you can go straight from an RG45, you can go straight to your Mac computer, then the recording will be made on the Macintosh. The third possibility is to have the Dante card, and with this one you will go to the Dante network.
And this is what we're going to show you. As you may see here, Dante network is connected to our AD8 unit, and it goes straight via a totally normal Ethernet cable to this computer for recording. So this allows us to use AD8 Plus as, for example, a stage box or an audio interface in a studio. It is even possible to add a second AD8, a third one, a fourth one, to have as many audio channels as you wish, only connected with a small switch as a part of a complete Dante network.
But this also can be used on different locations, on the stage, for instance. It can be powered by PoA. Then all boxes will be in network and powered by the PoA. After working a lot for a long time in production or post-production with your Sonosax device, let's go home, you sweet home. I was looking for several times to find a device for my home to use with my active speaker or different bigger active speakers. And I was looking a lot to connect everything I have, like my TV, my computer, my turntable, my old FM tuner, and it was always something missing. Then I say, let's design something. And S6DD2 is a preamplifier. DD2, why? Dual domain. He has analog input, digital input, analog output, and digital output. And the specific things is if you have analog source, you stay all the machine on the analog mode. You don't go AD and DA converters. Then you can also, with the optional USB card, you can also digitalize your very precious vinyl record, like this. And this is always with the very good Sonosax quality.
Well, I think it was quite nice to see Jacques doing a little dancing. That was quite fun to see that. So hi-fi, that's fantastic. I think, have you been doing hi-fi for a long time, or is this the first time you've done hi-fi in all the years?
Oh, before to manufacture product, I was selling everything: hi-fi, TV, sound system, PA system, and after I start to manufacture stuff, special product. One of the first was an amplifier for CP50, the first Dolby system in the theater, 4 channels. And I was also able to calibrate them, and I start from the scratch with no money. I do everything to find small money to grow up. Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of great comments on your videos. I think there's a question: is there a difference between products that are sold in the U.S. and in the EU?
Yeah, maybe that particular question, I saw that on the chat, Jacques, maybe you can precise this. Does AD8 Plus propose the famous dual AD converters, which are unfortunately not available for the US consumers?
Yes, the AD8 is with the 138 dB like the urban version. And for the R4 Plus, the American, they buy, it's only for the American market where we are limited by a strange patent. And people travel. I hope we can travel back soon. And some customers, they buy in US with the US version, and where they can go to Canada or any place in the world, and we can give back the real dynamic range. Gotcha. Then is
But of course, a consumer who would like to buy an AD8 Plus would have 8 input channels with dual AD that can be, of course, then connected to a R4 Plus.
Yes, sure.
Okay. So there are ways to work around this limitation of the US market.
We're seeing the sunset through the back windows of the room there. It's quite nice to see your lighting change and the end of the day. In fact, it's getting close to the end of our day's production here. We do have one more short video that was introduced kind of late in our schedule. Before we go to that, any additional comments on from Sonosax?
Tomorrow we're going to have a video about the analog mixers, which made Sonosax famous. But in fact, Jacques, we can already say that the series we showed, the Plus series, is in fact on the same quality level as the analog mixers used to be.
Yes, absolutely. We try really to be on the top of the sound possibilities. We have one customers actually using R4 Plus to digitalize vinyl. And they say they was not able to lessen the difference after on the direct vinyl or on the copy after all the conversions.
All right. Well, thank you, and we look forward to seeing that presentation tomorrow.
Yes.
So before we finish up for today, we have one last presentation. This is from a company called Iterative Features LLC, and it's a unique product that may be relevant for some of our production folks. So let's roll that video.
Hi, I'm Bobby Daly. I'm a cinematographer and editor at Digital Alliance, a small production company outside of Chicago. I've been trying to find a timecode solution that works with the variety of projects that we do. Sometimes it might be a commercial with a full crew and a red or whatever. Other times it's a one-man band situation with one person juggling 3 DSLRs and recording audio also. I've been struggling to find something pro enough for the first scenario, but easy enough for the second scenario, and I think I finally found it. This is the Dish. It's a timecode box that gets its time by syncing with satellites that have very high precision clocks, and they're all in perfect sync already. Timecode sitting, and you need to jam devices together to synchronize them, and you also need to make sure that they're not drifting apart over the course of the day. With Dish, the spacefaring nations of the world are doing all that work for you, so you just get to plug it in and start shooting. There are really two Dish boxes. There's the Dish and the Dish Pro. The Dish Pro uses the same satellite signal, but it has a BNC port and hooks into traditional timecode devices. So you can hook that up to your audio recorder or Pro camera like you would any other timecode generator. The Pro adds a frame rate selector. I'm going to choose 24.00 right now because that's what the regular Dish uses and I want them to match. In the future, there will be a way to change the frame rate on the Dish with software. Now I can just shoot what I need to. I can use Pro cameras, consumer cameras, or both. I can start and stop the cameras, power on and off the cameras, and the dishes don't drift at all because they're constantly checking themselves against the satellites. The clocks are also good enough on their own to stay accurate if you lose signal intermittently. I've been using these indoors and haven't had any issues with that at all. I'm also excited about how easy it is to deal with in post. I can use DaVinci Resolve, even the free version, to sync all this up and then either edit it there or send to Premiere Pro, which is what I usually use. All I have to do is import the footage to Resolve. The devices using Dish Pro are already set, but the Dish camera still has the timecode in the audio track, so I simply need to right-click on those clips and select Update Timecode from Audio, and then its timecode column here will update to the satellite time. I select all this stuff and right-click, selecting Create New Multicam Sequence from Selected Clips, change Angle Sync to Timecode, and hit Create. Right-click on that newly created multicam clip and choose Open in Timeline. You'll see all your audio and video laid out nicely. Now, maybe at this point I want to go to Premiere Pro, so I go up to File, Export AAF XML, but when I hit that, nothing happens. The trick is to go back to that clip again, copy everything inside it, then make a new timeline and paste everything into that. Now that Export AAF XML option works again. For Premiere, I'll want to select FCP7 XML v5 files.xml. When I import that XML into Premiere, everything will be ready to go. So the Dish is available now from their website, dish.tc. I've already ordered 3 of them for myself. The Dish Pro is coming soon, but a little later. Ari from Dish was kind enough to let me borrow a couple pre-production ones so that I could test them out. He's also answered a bunch of stupid questions that I had, and it's just all around awesome. I hope somebody out there finds this video useful. Thank you for watching, and good luck with whatever it is you're working on.
All right, we've got Ari with us from dish.tc, and let me just get the audio selected back to, so Zoom comes in. So Ari, welcome. You joined us just in the nick of time here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and it's wonderful to see the turnout, and kind of humbling to have this audience listening to our presentation. Thank you so much for being part of that audience.
Now, we've seen GPS-based timecode. In fact, Ambient had a product many years ago, and you know, but it's still a very relevant tool and a very powerful tool because it's an incredibly highly accurate time source, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And maybe Klaus will want to comment on their experience with it. Where we came from, our original goal was to build a timecode system where you didn't have to build out a lot of infrastructure, where you could just plug it in and it would work. And of course, that means that you need to synchronize your clocks on the different devices, and so you need some kind of radio way to deliver the time. And we'll know the systems that exist that let you do that locally, and we know how expensive they are, and they take expertise to set up. And if you have that expertise on set, that's wonderful, and it's a good thing. But a lot of smaller crews wouldn't know how to set them up, or would set them up incorrectly, and then it's worse than not having them at all. And so we said, there's a way we can do this without having to set up your own RF infrastructure, and that's just to tap into systems that are already in place. And then you can simplify a lot of things. You never have to worry about, are you running on local time? Are you running on daylight savings? Did you go into a different time zone? You're always synced to the same thing. Everybody, everywhere in the world is always synced to the same thing.
Gotcha. Excellent. Thank you. Well, this is that was the last presentation for the day. I'm going to bring this out to the gallery here. So this is the remaining participants that we have here. If everybody wants to unmute, and anybody has any last things to say before we close Sound Summit for day one. Looks like I need to reactivate Klaus's microphone. So let's figure out how to do that.
Sound Summit for day one.
Somebody's got audio playing through, so we've got a little feedback here. So let's see if we can just mute the participants that may be
playing through. So
start video. I'm going to mute Klaus's audio because I think that was Klaus's audio coming through. Yes.
There were a couple of questions that came up
yeah, please.
on the YouTube about the dish. And do I have a couple of minutes to answer those?
Yeah, certainly.
So people were asking about the batteries. These are AA's. You can use rechargeables. In fact, we encourage that. On a good set of fresh alkalines, you get about 40 hours of runtime. So that was a question that came up. There's no screen because, like Paul was saying, you don't need a screen because there's nothing that this would ever show that you would want to know. It always runs on UTC. You never have to check if they're in sync or not. They do have these blinking lights that will blink at the top of the second. So you can see that they're blinking together, and you can see that they're in sync. But other than that, there's no information that you need to display. Of course, if you plug it into a camera, or a sound recorder, you'll see that display. But there's nothing that you need to configure. That's the whole point of this product.
Now, brief question for Klaus. Klaus, does Ambient still have their GPS puck? I recall that from many years ago.
No, actually, because it was going together with the controller, and the GPS receiver that was compliant with that or compatible with that was discontinued. And when we halted the controller due to part obsolescence, it didn't make sense. We have not completely given up on that. But when Ari spoke to me last year on NAB, and I was very curious to pick up this thread actually.
Well, we were going to meet at NAB this year, and we're going to talk about it at length, right?
Here we are.
We've been intermittently in touch on the social channels anyway, so and I would have been very curious to talk to you about the difficulties, and apparently you have found some answers. There are answers, but in that simple shape to make it compatible with NTSC and drop rates, because you need to recalculate from midnight.
You do. My light here is awful. I don't know if you can see this here. The one selector we do have on the new version of the product is you do get to select the frame rate, including NTSC and drop frame. We do calculate all of that in real time.
I know. But the way that you do it is apparently very clever, and there are some questions.
Klaus, it means a lot for me to hear you say that.
We will be in touch on that. And as that, we have
very good
on GPS, but now you're here with that GPS solution, and I think it has a valid place in the market for certain aspects and users.
There was a question about collaboration between Sonosax and Sound Devices, and Fabrice, I know that the controller that you came up with, and we're working on integrating that in a version of firmware to come soon, and that's something. Do you want to comment on that?
Yes, that's right. We are working on the MIDI version, in fact, MIDI over USB version of LC8 Plus that will be compatible with Sound Device recorders, 8 series at least, and maybe also with DAWs, so editing softwares, and so it will become a very universal machine, in fact.
Excellent. Well, thank you. This has been a lot of fun. Let's go back to the wide view of all the participants. We still have a few of us that are still here. Carl's here, and Fabrice and Jacques and Klaus. So thank you very much. This was, I think, a successful day one, and we're going to do a little bit of this again tomorrow. We got some other great presentations. So if you go to thesoundsummit.org. Take a look at the schedule, and you'll see the schedule of tomorrow's presentations. We may alter the schedule a little bit in just to essentially run from one presentation to the next. So the order that you see on the page is correct. The times may shift. It may end a little bit earlier so that we don't have any dead time between presentations. So on behalf of everybody at Sound Devices who helped me in putting this on, and all the other manufacturers for the day, thank you very much. And this has been a lot of fun, and hope you got a lot out of it.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone at Sound Devices, and great to see everybody. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Hello to everybody. Have a great day. Stay safe.
At home.
Yes.